This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and A.J. Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics show, the news with the Black point of view.
Thank you to everyone who supported us through Super Chat. Your contributions keep independent media alive and thriving. We couldn't do it without you. Stand up, speak out, rock the message that matters, community before party. Get your shirt today and let your vote wear your interest and values over party loyalty. Stand strong, speak loud, wear the truth. The Black Mental Health Matters team. Support health, wellness, mental clarity, and independent media. Get yours now.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Oh my God, I left my mic over there. Peace and blessings, everybody. It's Damon K. Jones here, and welcome to the People Before Politics show, where we have a special show tonight at we have a special show. You got some background noise, AJ. We have a special show tonight at 7 p.m. We're gonna have the forum. We're gonna have a forum with Mount Vernon court judges, and right now we're trying to make sure that the comments are off. So you have to go wherever they're live and go private.
Oh, okay. So just in case, so if you are able to make a comment, comments will not be read during this Mount Vernon Judge Candidate Forum. We may change that for the Controller Forum coming up next week and the City Council Forum. Maybe we'll do them then. But for this, because there's this like tightrope we got to walk on what you can talk about, what the candidates can talk about. And I'm gonna be real. We've interviewed judge for the last 8 years, all the judge races, from even when we was back in Yonkers. And a few of them was about it. Judge Armstrong spoke way more. When I asked the people that was running against him, they said, we can't answer that question. And Judge Armstrong answered all of those questions. So, you know.
Big shout out to Judge Armstrong.
And Johnson answered questions that other people wouldn't answer. So
big shout out to Judge Johnson.
There have been a few others, but I can't remember all their names because we did the the Supreme races, the Westchester County races. We did all those races. But more times than not, anything that they don't want to answer, usually the response is, I cannot answer that because I'm running for judge. That's usually the thing. So what Black Westchester did was to find, and we did this before too, look up answers that they can ethically answer, and hopefully this will help you decide on who to vote for in the upcoming Democratic primary. So that being said, thank you for everybody for tuning in. I was a few minutes late. I just got back in town. And I'm like, yo, I really didn't want to do a show, but Damon already scheduled this. So I was like, yo, I will be honest, if Damon didn't schedule the forum, y'all wouldn't be seeing me tonight. I'll be relaxing right now. And after I'm still feeling a little hurt. I'm still the fallout of my Knicks losing. I'm still feeling that from yesterday. But I want to say this, and I'm keep it real because everybody's going to ask me and has asked me, so I'm going to address this one time. It's a process. We won more games this year than last year. We won a round further this year than last year. And there's like a 3-year window. You know what I'm saying? From this point on, they don't make it in there. They ain't going to make it. But we have progressed each year. So the season wasn't a failure. I was disappointed to lose specifically to Indiana. I'm anti-Indiana since Reggie Miller. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't rooting for the NBA team. I ain't rooting for the football team. I ain't rooting for the WNBA team. I ain't rooting for nothing for Indiana. Indiana and Boston, I ain't rooting for nothing that come from Indiana or Boston. But, so, I'll see what changes they do, and I'm gonna leave my faith up into Leon Rose and them. They made some real good changes and stuff to build this team to this point, and we're gonna see what they do here to see if they can make the team better for next year. But that's enough of that. For my Knicks fans, wanted to get that out because I'm still feeling that. That's less than 24 hours ago. I'm still feeling that right now. So
yeah, man. Yeah. So.
Oh, and I'm rooting for OKC. I want the Pacers to get their behind whooped, because they beat the Knicks. So, hey, ain't no shame in my game. Judge Tamika A. Covendale. Hey, yes, I actually think she answered. Like I said, I can't remember all of the judges, but they were the exception. Is the point that I was making of judges who answered questions. The first one really was Judge Armstrong. He even said, now I might get in trouble from the Democratic Party from answering this question, but I'm going to answer it. And he answered everything that everybody else said they couldn't answer. So, he was definitely the first, the boldest one of all the judicial candidates. But, so that's what it is. So we try to walk that tightrope, and, we could try to ask some questions that's fair, that we looked up, that you can ethically ask them, that they are ethically allowed to answer. And just for any misinterpretation, some places it says debate, some places it says candidate forum. This will be a candidate forum. Judge candidates are not allowed to debate, or at least call it a debate. So even if it's a debate format, they can't call it a debate. So this is a candidate forum, regardless of wherever you see the word debate. This is a candidate forum. So just we want to knock that out the way before anybody come with it. And we have a moderator who who's not from Westchester, who has no allegiance to Westchester, who's not down with anybody in Westchester, who can't vote in Westchester, who ain't got a horse in this race. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna have that. And one of the main reasons we did that, and we keep it real, full disclosure. Damon's part of an organization called Blacks in Law Enforcement of America. Blacks in Law Enforcement of America endorsed Judge Davis. And so Damon will not be participating in the candidate forum. And we will have Charles Billups. And Damon will give you his qualifications later on who he is. So, we're trying to keep it as fair and as we can. And, haters are going to say what they're going to say regardless. You know what I'm saying? And it's always been 11 years. They've been, accusing us of stuff even when we didn't do nothing. So we try to keep it, full disclosure and keep it real. This is real talk for the community. That's what we do. This is news with the Black point of view. Yes, Sandy, the forum for the Mount Vernon judges is tonight at 7. And the rest of the schedule. So next week, which I believe is the 8th, Sunday the 8th, will be the candidate forum for controller, Mount Vernon controller. And then the 15th will be the candidate forum or debate, whatever you want to call it, for Mount Vernon City Council. Those three will fall 1, 2, 3. Mount Vernon, there's a lot of races going on. Mount Vernon is one of the most contested and highly publicized race. Also, I wrote about it before. The race for Yonkers City Council president, that's got to probably be the most. That's another race that is very hotly contested, and you got several people on the Democrat and Republican primaries vying for that position. You got two former council presidents running for re-election. You got the current president running. You got a city councilwoman running. It's crazy. Like Yonkers city council president race is crazy. You got like 9 people running for 1 seat. At least Mount Vernon, we got 9 candidates. They're running for like 3 seats. So it's like, but they're running for 1 seat. So like, shout out to that election. That's going to also be highly publicized. If for some reason they want some kind of forum or something, I might put something together, but not on a Sunday. But that's if the candidates reach out. But I will be covering the race. I will be covering the race. Yes. Thank you, Brenda L. Crump. Save the date for Mount Vernon debates. Sunday, June 1st, today, Judge, Sunday, June 8th. Next week, Controller, Sunday, June 15th, 2025. City Council, Democratic primaries. Election Day is June 24th. Early voting starts June 14th through Sunday, June 22nd. Early voting schedule. So also, if you got a copy of the May issue of the newspaper, all of the early voting dates and locations, and even all the candidates running in Westchester County, whether it's for the Democratic primary, the Republican primary, the working family, and the conservative, all candidates. I got the list from the Board of Elections. So all of that's in the current May issue and will be again in the June issue. The early voting and the June issue will be out next week. So lastly, any candidates who said they were interested in advertising in the June issue, you got like 24, 48, you got 3 days, 72 hours. You got 72 hours to get your ad and your payment in. The paper will either be out Friday or Monday. So, but you got till Wednesday to get your ads in. So if y'all say your word ad, y'all had to do your ads or whatever y'all got, and you might want to do it because your opponents was probably advertising. So I'm just saying, some of them races, like your opponent is coming to advertise, and I've texted some of y'all and told you your opponent has advertised. You want to advertise? So you
better.
You might want to get into this issue.
If you ain't got no money for a mailer, you better advertise with Black Westchester. That's the only.
And that's almost as good as a mailer. You take out a full page ad, come holler. I'll give you a couple of 100 papers, and you can saturate your city with them. So we can make that happen too. So,
I'm keeping
it real. I'm saying you can take out a full page ad and make sure people see that issue of Black Westchester and places in your city that never saw it before. So you can get a couple of issues. You can have your campaign team hand it out. We've done that with elections before. Jamal Bowman's team handed out a record number of issues for their campaign, and other campaign they've taken out ads and we've given them. Even the school board. Remember the school board, Leslie and them? We came to the house, we dropped off 1,000 papers to them or something like that. 1,500 copies they wanted for. So if you take out an ad and you want papers, you just got to get somebody to come pick them up, and you can distribute them through your city. So you got till Wednesday. Go ahead, Damon. We got.
Yeah, we just want to go over a couple of articles. Recently, Jake Trapper, a newscaster, came out with a book called Original Sin, which is crazy. And he talks about, he talks about the president's mental and health decline. Now, let me close this tab real quick. Now, this is crazy because there's also a video on so it's Original Sin. President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Now, this is Jake Trapper. And he interviewed President Trump a couple of times, I believe. And he talks about what was going on in the White House and why they ignored Joe Biden's mental decline and questioning who was actually running the White House. It's not Black Westchester's opinion. This is Jake Trapper's opinion. And he came under a lot of heat for writing this book. And other journalists that I guess was interviewed, it was a couple of hundred people interviewed for this book, and he came out with the book, and it's very interesting. Was this a cover-up? Because if it was, it's probably one of the biggest cover-up. And who was actually running the country? It was almost like Weekend at Bernie's.
I won't say the biggest cover up. I still think ain't nothing. No. Ain't got nothing Nixon in that.
No, it's worse. It's worse than Nixon, because it's worse than Nixon because the president didn't know what was going on. So who was running the country? Nixon was just doing dirt. This is the president not knowing or not in a mental state. So who was making the decisions while he was president? Who was signing? Who was signing the bill? Because they already broke it down that it was an auto pen. So, and he didn't literally know what was being signed. Having conversations with some of the senators, this is crazy, bro. This is really crazy. It's straight up weekend at Bernie's, and I'm not knocking Biden. I think they should get him help, whatever help he needs, whatever it should be help. But if Jake Trapper says, and from his interviews with other people, who was running the country? Even one of the main fundraisers, the Lindy Lee, she was even saying he was in bed by 6.
Well, let me say two things. So, I forgot what the actor was, big white actor who's prominent actor. Was it him that said he didn't recognize the Biden he saw then wasn't the Biden that he saw that he knew? So I think that there wasn't a debate on what state he was in. Now I'm gonna just say this as a writer. He's selling a book, so wait for the facts to come out. Because if this is Congress is gonna probably be looking into this. If there's a there, it's gonna come out.
Well, I mean, yes, he's a writer, but he covered the White House.
I got you.
So
a lot of people. The point about selling books is you're trying to sell a book. So I got you.
Well, you're trying to sell, right? You're trying to sell books, but see, people come out with the stuff after the fact, right? Now that Biden's out of office, right? People come out with books. We know how it goes, right? Once the person is safe, right? Once the person is safe, they give the information, but the damage has already been done.
Yeah, same thing happened with Trump. There was 100 people that worked with him that came out with books after that. So
exactly.
So my point is not that it's not true or not. Understand that it's a writer and he's trying to sell books.
No, but it has to be.
And as far as if there was anything criminal and cover up.
No, I'm not talking criminal.
But cover up.
I'm just questioning who was running.
Right,
who was making the decisions.
But the Trump administration led Congress is going to investigate this, and if there's a there, they're going to find it. So that's what I'm just saying.
You're right, but it's just the book was, and this is the crazy thing. That first debate, everybody knew something was wrong with them, but the White House was still denying it. With our own eyes, we saw it, and the White House was still denying it.
Well, I think,
and that's when Clooney and Obama went at it, because Clooney got raised up for $20 million, and then Obama got Clooney to put out the op-ed for him to sit down, because Clooney had to cover his behind.
Yeah. Now we've heard the stories, and like I said, whatever it is going to come out. Again, like Damon said, this is a book written by Jake Trapper and Alex Thompson. This is not the opinion of Black Westchester. This is what's in the book. And as far as everything else, trust me, if there's a there, the Trump administration led Congress is going to investigate. They're going to investigate whether there's a there or not. But if there is, they're going to find it though.
I think when they started talking about the auto pen, and I didn't even know they had an auto pen. Like, not everything is signed. They use an auto pen. Whatever that is, I'm still not even clear what the hell an auto pen is. But it signs the signature of the president. So when the Trump administration started talking about that auto pen, that most of the bills were signed by the auto pen. Now, was he aware of the bills that was being signed? I knew there was something. But Jake Trapper his book just put fuel on the fire.
So
on that fire, whether he was and the fact that after the debate, everybody knew something wasn't right. You didn't know what wasn't right, but you knew that this dude wasn't right.
So again, I'm not here to promote his book. Everybody either get the book or not. It's going to come out. So what else is on Black Westchester? What other stories is up? Yeah, I see. I don't know what Talbot Thomas. Who are you here for? Who are you here for? I think you got my number or something. Text me. I'm trying to figure out why. Anyway, we say somebody.
You sent the link to the wrong person, AJ.
Nah,
I already sent it to you and Charles.
I texted to her directly. She said thank you. No. That's why I asked you the other question. Anyway, moving on. We'll figure that out. What else is on the Black Westchester? So we can get everything out. We get everything out before we have to do this thing. So
Mount Vernon residents graduate from clean energy training program through Cormery Enterprises and Taurus Tech.
Before you go any further, that deserves a round of applause.
Oh, hold on. I'm working too.
Oh, you got two different screens. You couldn't do it. My bad. My bad. I thought you tried to push a button. We have to celebrate our youth when they're doing stuff. We only read about every time they're doing something bad. Whenever they making accomplishments and stuff like that, we need to celebrate them. So that's why I said that.
Yeah, and also it goes into us really talking about the trades, right? We have to start teaching trades in schools.
Like they used to.
Like, look, if the Board of Education goes away, it doesn't change that we're not preparing our children for tomorrow. There's 820,000 open trade jobs. 820,000. And we're not preparing our children to fill those jobs, Black and brown people.
And you come out with a certificate, you come out qualified, you come out ready to work in that field, whether it's an electrician.
You come out ready to work, but you have to, or still, I mean, my son was in that class.
Yeah.
And the next step is the class costs about $6,000. But what comes after that is making more money. Making more money an hour. So you have to be willing to invest in yourself.
We have to change our priorities because jobs like a mechanic, cars, no matter what the cars look like in the future, they're always going to break down. Somebody got to fix them. Electricians, no matter what form of energy we use, we're always going to use some kind of electricity, and somebody going to have to fix those things. HVAC, no matter what kind of systems we use, there's always going to be some kind of heating and some kind of air conditioning.
Exactly.
And somebody's got to fix that. And then, then going into the more technical stuff, like the coding, like I see some of our kids playing with that stuff. Coding is a whole thing now. Dr. Bob actually working on the project, and he had to do some coding. He wish he had a coding class that he could take that he took when he was younger, because he's learning it now in his 50s. You know what I'm saying? To try to finish this project right now.
Let me tell you something. Parents, a plumber is more valuable in the community than an entertainer, a sports player, and a YouTube influencer. A plumber has more value in the community.
Toilet sinks and tubs always going to back up and need some kind of plumbing. Plumbing always goes. That pipe under the sink, plumbing is always these things we mentioned, the mechanics and the plumbers and the HVAC.
Is that you?
No. Don't you doing that? I ain't got no control over the claps. Those jobs are jobs that, one, are necessary jobs, and they're always going to be needed. Okay, you're going to clap crazy.
No.
Clap on, clap off. So he those are jobs that will enable you to feed your family, to take care of your family, to even get a house. I mean, we lost a lot of that when we lost General Motors. My father and my grandfather both did 35 years in General Motors. You know what I'm saying? No college degree, no nothing. And, you know, my dad was able to move our family to Long Island and Suffolk County, Long Island, buy a house off that job. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and them benefits was good. Them benefits took care of us. So like,
Right.
you know, you could do, you know, the problem is we have to be real, and it's not an insult to be real that every student, not just coming out of Mount Vernon High School, but coming out of high school period this day, is not college bound. And kids that go to college because their parents tell them that's what they're going to do, and they're not really, that's not the path that's for them. All you're doing is giving them kids, you or the kids, debt that got to be paid back when they drop out of school. You're not giving these kids tools to, after you graduate and you walk across the thing and you get your diploma, the school has done nothing for the next day of your life. The day after you get the diploma, the school has done nothing to prepare you for the next day of your life. Those people that are college bound and went to the college prep courses and stuff, they got all the things they needed to go into college. But everybody else, you kind of on your own. You got your diploma. Hey, you walked across the thing. What's the plan for the next day and the next days after that? So then you got communities like Mount Vernon, and not just Mount Vernon, where there's not a lot of jobs and, you know, things going on, and, you know, you get young folks that are high school graduates doing dumb street stuff to make a living and ending up dead or in jail. There are a lot of high school graduates dead or in jail.
Right.
So what are we doing to prepare them for after high school, after school, and trades for those? And there's different kind of trades. You know what I'm saying? But those trade jobs, like you said, mechanics, electricians, HVAC, and those are only a few of them. There's many.
Right. So, and this is what I want to make clear before I forget. So we just had school boards election all over the place.
Yep, all through the state of New York.
All over the state. We had black people turn out, vote for the school boards. Now that you voted these school boards, where you kept the old or put in new or whatever, it is clearly up to you, parents, voters, to make sure that your school system is producing people that's going to come out, whether they go to college or whether they don't. So if they don't go to college, the school system should be prepared to have them understand and learn trades. I literally don't understand how we fell away from having mechanics class, workshop with wood and all these things that we had when I was coming up in high school that we don't have now.
I know dudes that took home ec, and some of them, I know 2 dudes that are professional chefs now took home ec in high school.
Exactly. Even home ec. Like, these are the things, those were the classes that created civilization. Straight music. Because a lot of people can't even cook. But we had to learn how to cook in home ec to pass the class. We had to learn how to sew. I still can hem my own pants.
Me too. Now I just drop it off at the cleaners or use that.
But put on buttons on my shirt.
Me too. And that wasn't school. My mother made sure I knew that stuff. It's just my mother made sure I knew that.
Right. Understand savings and checking, and what is the purpose of those robots? No, but you need a man. Yo, Jack, you need a man to program the robot.
Right. He said the second part of that is we need engineers, scientists, and cybersecurity. You do need so that's also the thing with AI, and everybody's saying AI and the robots are going to take over. Yo, learning AI is very important right now. So whatever the next reiterations of AI, there are going to be people working in those fields. And you need to prepare yourself to be one of those people to work in them high quality, great, good paying jobs in AI. Usually when we find out, we get the secondhand jobs that, we the late.
Right. Well, I think it's every job, right? Yeah. AI is not going to take your job. It's the person that knows AI is going to take your job. That's who's going to take your job. It's not going to be
AI. Well, what AI and robots will do, they'll need less people.
Right.
Because you see that, you start seeing that, like, there used to be a person or persons that worked that you gave your money to in a toll booth. That's done. You know what I'm saying? Like there's less and less things people are doing. And so now you see robotics. We need to be getting into robotics. You see AI. We need to be getting into AI. The internet is still thriving. We need to be getting into coding and all of those things that I was talking about earlier. Those things, you see, things change. The problem is you have to be willing to change with them and prepare the next generation to be prepared. And that's what we're not doing. So whatever the future looks like, and that's why I'm happy about pull that story that you just had up, the kids that just graduated, the programs that they're putting together, they clean energy training program. Clean energy is the future. Whether people want to admit that or not, that's a thing. And that's going to be jobs. Yes, Jack, less people is correct. Less people doing the manual labor parts. Yes.
But there's always going to be certain sectors where it's going to be affected, and there's going to be certain sectors that you're still going to be manual labor, but you have to have a higher knowledge of what's going on. But the thing is, we have to prepare our children. These school districts, especially in Black and brown neighborhoods, need to be preparing our children. We pay all these tax dollars, and you trying to tell me all the tax dollars that you're paying, that they're not preparing your children with trades. At least that when they graduate, they come out at entry level. I've been talking about this for the last 10 years about getting our young people in these trades. The numbers don't lie. 820,000 open jobs right now. And we're not preparing our children. It's not the children that's the problem, it's us. Because what happened, and I'm gonna really be honest about this. What happened under President Obama, they switched to college education. Like working with our hands was beneath us. Physical labor became like a job that nobody wanted. But that's the groundwork of institutional building. We did it. We did it in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s. To the point that white people started unions to get our jobs because they were not trained in what we were doing, because we was doing it for 400 years for free. And when we started getting paid for it, white folks wasn't trained to build the White House. We did that. We built Washington, D.C. White folks ain't built that. So how do we give that away? I'm telling you, man, we better start pivoting in this thing, or we're going to get left behind. And it ain't going to be nobody's fault. It's not going to be racism. It's not going to be the white man. It's going to be our fault. It's going to be our fault. Because it's going to be our schools that we in our communities that's not training our children properly, and we're not investing in making sure, going to PTA meetings, meeting the the head of the schools, making sure that these curriculums are creating people that's going to come out and be producers. It's not all about having a college degree. It's preparing them when they get out. I don't want to hear about all that other stuff. We do it ourselves. And we got to start preparing. I'm telling you, or we're going to get left behind. And we ain't going to have nobody to blame but ourselves.
Absolutely. So the one thing I do want to correct, though, it is absolutely our fault, but there will be a racism element in there.
No, listen, bro.
But listen, let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Wait a minute, brother.
Let me finish. Can anybody talk but you? Like, you just want to run on your mouth? And if you want to, can anybody else talk but you?
Exists.
But did you said racism ain't got nothing to do with it? Can someone else talk but you? Or just what you say is just going to be
what I'm saying is can I finish? Go ahead, say it. Go ahead.
I said it is absolutely our fault. But to say racism doesn't have an element is not a point. That's not true. But what us not handling our business gives the ammunition to those individuals that are racist. You know what I'm saying? That are not looking out for us. But we still got to do it. It's still our responsibility. Two things can be true. It's not that racism don't have nothing to do with it, but it is our responsibility. And that's what I want to be clear. To say that's not an issue. This is a racist country. This is a racist country. So the racism will have a part to play. Racism. But what are you going to do about it when people are racist? What are you going to do? See, I'm not arguing about personal responsibility. There is absolutely the majority of this is personal responsibility. And we have to do, we're not the ones that are educating our kids. We're not the ones doing all of this stuff. Them other people ain't doing it. But by not doing it, remember when somebody was saying they asked the lady why she they said the cops came and said, you put your hands on their kid, and he said, yeah, I'm teaching them discipline before you have to. Talking about the cops and the correction officers.
Right.
If you don't teach them, they're gonna learn that somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? If you don't teach them right, that the people that are racist and stuff are going to take advantage of them because they're not prepared. The bottom line is being prepared. Regardless of what the case is, we have to prepare our kids. And that is 100% true.
Right. And
Brother said after
that, bro.
High school, after college, military, trade school, Job Corps, employment.
Right. But we're not preparing. We're not, it's like we're not as leaders. I'm not arguing with that. Yeah, I'm not arguing with that. We're not preparing. See, because Black excellence will trump racism every day, especially if we're unified and we're putting community first.
These young niggas, yo, Jack. So Jack's always our comic relief. No, it's not about me and Damon. Me and Damon don't see eye to eye on a lot of topics, but we still partners, and we built this thing.
Exactly. And
it's built on. I see things from a different lens. He see things from a different lens. What made this show? When Cynthia came on, she saw things from a different lens. Lorraine had a different lens. Dr. Bob got a whole nother different lens. It was all of these lenses that made us still be here. You know what I'm saying? So, the problem is everybody's in this echo chamber and only speaking to the audience and only listening to the stuff that they want to hear. You're going to hear both sides. Like I said, they said about my man Bill Maher on his show, we punch at both sides. We're not just punching on the Republicans. We're punching at the Democrats too. We're not just punching at white people. We're punching at Black people too. We feel they should know better. Democrats should know better, and Black people should know better.
Right.
So you're gonna hear all of that. So that's just
a big shout to everybody that's watching on YouTube. And if you can't make comments, we disabled the comments for the Judge Forum. So if you're like, yo, man, like we can't make comments, but please subscribe.
And on the replay, they should be able to do comments, right? They should be able to do once.
I know. I think I don't know. I'll figure that out. But please please share, and also please subscribe, and you can also become a member. For $4.99, sorry, that $4.99 a month, where you get exclusive.
Yeah.
exclusive things. So, and if you're not watching this on YouTube, please do watch us on YouTube. But I want to thank those people that are there.
So before we go, just where you at right now, talk about the amount of people and views we got over the last month. You did a video and promotion.
No, we right now this month we got over almost 600,000 views on YouTube. Big shout out to all that are following us now on YouTube and making our channel an independent media base in Westchester County. So we're almost at 600,000 views for the month, and we got different shows on there. We got
Elevation Nation
on
some Mondays.
On some Mondays with Tasha Young. We got the Black Economy on Mondays at 8:00. We got Balling on the Budget, where I talk about my huge cologne collection for young brothers and sisters, because a lot of them are unisex that like colognes. And on Wednesday we got Wellness Wednesdays. Thursdays we got Motivational Thursdays, and Fridays we got the Morning Tea, where I just give a recap, unless Jack tunes in and he ends up having me on for about an hour and a half. But other than that, I'm gonna
tune in Friday just to make it longer. No, I'm just playing.
Nah, man, I be trying to just get off of it, man. So, but other than that, man, people and we have the publisher's desk where I talk about a lot of different issues and current events, addressing a lot of things. So check it out. Definitely tomorrow, because we talk tomorrow. It's a short video. I mean, the video's 15 minutes long. It doesn't take time out of your day, but it's a lot of information. So tomorrow, for everybody that's a union worker, civil service, police, work a lot of overtime. I literally break down what the big, beautiful bill does with no tax on overtime. I explain it so people can understand it. So union people can understand it. And what does it mean and how? Because we got to be clear, because this is and it's only to 2028, I believe. So you have to be clear on what your benefits are. How does it benefit you? So I don't want people to think they're going to wake up one morning and the taxes is just taken out of it. It's just not that simple. But you're going to get your money back. But you got to understand what you need to do and how does it affect you. And for someone that's retired, if I was working, it would be a good law, because it lowers. All right, let's say I make 100,000, and then I make another 100,000 on overtime. So that's 200,000. But that will put me in another tax bracket, which I will have to pay more taxes. With there's no taxes on overtime, you're only going to get taxed on the 100,000. So you're not going to get taxed on the 100,000 that you make on overtime, which will keep you in a lower tax bracket, and you will pay less taxes overall. So I think that's good, because I've been put in tax brackets that I shouldn't be in just because I worked a lot of overtime throughout the year. So if you fall in those things, I think watch the video tomorrow and we'll break it down. Even union presidents need to watch it, because it explains something that y'all need to go back to your membership and explain it. So they understand what that is. Definitely affects civil service workers, because a lot of us work a lot of overtime, 40 to 50 to 60 hours just in 1 week. In 1 week.
So I'm looking at 6:45. Is there anything else you want to address before we get into this?
No, that's it. We're waiting on Charles.
Okay. Any
Judge Davis is signed in, so we're waiting on Charles.
And I told Danielle about 6:45, so we're waiting for her. I don't see if I got a text. I'll make sure I didn't get no text or nothing. Nope. So yeah, we're waiting for Charles. So while we're waiting on Charles, and to tell people who Charles is, like, so people don't know. So people, everybody knows.
Charles Billups is the chairman of the Grand Council of Guardians. It's an organization of Black law enforcement professionals for the whole state, actually. And he's been doing a lot of work throughout the country, throughout New York, throughout the country. And since I jumped the gun and endorsing Judge Davis, just for transparency, I have him come on.
And again, before anybody takes a piece of that video, Damon is part of an organization, Blacks in Law Enforcement of America. That's Black Westchester. I'm saying it loud. I'm saying it clear for the cheap seats. Black Westchester has not endorsed any candidates in this 2025 primary. Not just Mount Vernon, any candidates in this 2025 primary. So let's be clear, because I got told that we doing endorsements. We didn't endorse nobody yet, and I'm not sure if we're doing any endorsements. I'll see how that comes. Just saying hello, my brother. What's up, Bob? Strober? I think that's
Strober? Hey, that's my brother, man.
SHROBA? Yeah.
Yeah. What's up, Strober? What's going on? They used to call us Whistler and Blade.
Oh, okay. He must have worked with you because, up at the corrections, they call everybody by their last name. I said the first name. He said, Schrober. Yeah, Schrober. Yeah. Whenever he referred to somebody by their last name,
that was my partner on Midnights, man. We used to go in and handle business.
Oh, that's what's up.
And they used to call us Whistler and Blade.
Oh, okay. You
could guess who Whistler was. You guess who Blade.
That's what's up. Doing okay, and you?
Yeah, I'm great, man. I'm great. Glad you're enjoying retirement, my brother. Love you, man. Love you. It's crazy. You could work with people for 20, 30 years. And I mean, when you're in law enforcement, man, you do hours. You get forced together, man. Y'all be standing at the door trying to get out, and then you hear your name called over on the intercom, to call the supervisor's office, and everybody's getting forced together. So it creates a family atmosphere, especially with all those years, man. And even though, I haven't seen Strober in 2 years since I left, but I still got love for him because we put all that time that we put in that facility, and all the memories, man. And it's unfortunate, and we're trying to put together a retirement barbecue, because a lot of times in law enforcement, you don't see people once you retire, they're not really part of your life. You don't see them. And the only time you see them is at funerals, which is something sad. So I had talked to Risha, and I told her, I said, yo, we need to start doing some barbecues to bring people together, because we shouldn't wait to a funeral and you see everybody that you worked with for your whole 30 some odd, 20 some odd, 30 some odd years, and you see them at a funeral, and that's not the type of joyous occasion you need to run into people that you spent so much time with, at work. But I'm glad that Strober is doing well. Let me see where Charles is at. AJ, say something.
Yo, DK was a good officer, much respected. And he tuned in because he just saw this on Facebook. Yeah, I'm sitting here texting people. Yo, so yeah, we're gonna do a series of debates again. We got the newspaper that's out now. The May issue's out now. The June issue's coming out next week. Make sure you get your advertisements in. That's a good way to support the paper, to support what we're doing. Yo, like I said, we reach these numbers right now. on YouTube help us continue to reach these numbers, help the numbers to continue to climb so the algorithms find us, help make because we had one video, one of the shows that we did, within 24 hours, there was like 150, 250 comments. It was crazy. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, so people are engaging, even some of the ones that's way out there, they still engaging.
It was Tish James.
Oh yeah, it was like almost 200 something. It was like 200 something comments.
Listen, I'm about to make another video where Sam Antar just dropped some more stuff, and I'm about to make another video.
So shout out to Sam
Montego.
Shout out to Sam. I just seen a video that he did where he shouted us out.
Oh yeah.
I looked at the comments. I also looked at the comments, and a lot of people who support Sam and who follow Sam were happy that we gave him the length of the time on the show, because he usually gets like 5 minutes or whatever.
Right.
He was able to sit down and dissect and break down everything. And a lot of him, not just him, but a lot of the people who followed him was like, thank you for giving Sam that time. And was really shouting us out, and they were sharing it. So that helped increase the numbers, because they're sharing it to people that never seen it before. Sam has his own following, you know what I'm saying? So his people are watching and all that. So it's a beautiful thing. I see Danielle is here. We're just waiting for Charles.
Yeah, Charles said he's logging in.
Okay. So Danielle and Peter, I can't hear you, but you can hear me. I just wanted to acknowledge we do see you. We're waiting for the moderator to get in, and then we're going to finish a few things, and we're going to get into that. So thank you for coming in. Peter, we need you to jump on your camera. I don't see your camera on. Make sure you're good. There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
we just wait for the moderator. Again, I said, I know y'all can hear me. I can't hear y'all, but y'all can hear me. I just wanted to acknowledge that I see y'all. Is there anything while we're waiting for Charles? Anything else we wanted to get out? Anything else we wanted to talk about on the website, or anything going on in the Black community? Anything?
But another thing that's creating a lot of buzz.
I want to shout out. I just wanted to shout out. So I see the two things. Shout out to both Heavy D and Jadakiss, both of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did a big tribute to Have. I did a big tribute to Have, which is actually portions of my book. And then Jadakiss just celebrated his 50th birthday, and I wrote about that. That some Dennis Richmond. Shout out to Dennis Richmond. He's been doing a lot of articles. He wrote a tribute to Jadakiss 50th birthday.
So this is that. Yeah, that's great. That's definitely great. This is creating a lot of buzz.
Yeah, I love a comment. I ain't never leave comments. I love a comment.
Yeah, this is creating a buzz on Trump pardoning Larry Hoover and NBA YoungBoy. It's very interesting. Now Larry Hoover he's still doing, I think, 200 years, or
Trump pardoned, commuted his federal charges, but he was also convicted. He still got life sentences that are state charges. So while the federal charges were commuted, the state charges still stand, and he's not getting out of jail.
No, he's not. He's not coming out of jail. NBA YoungBoy was on house arrest, and his slate is clean, and he's talking about touring, getting right back into the game and touring. But what a lot of people are not talking about, which I think this is very interesting. Alice Marie Johnson was one of the people that Kanye West and what's his ex-wife name? Oh God,
Kardashian.
Yeah, the Kardashians, right? That they lobbied for her release. She did 7 years in the federal prison. They lobbied for her release. He pardoned her, but he also, I believe he pardoned her in his first term. I think it was his first term, yeah, because that was with Kanye West and they was all dealing with. His second term, he made Anne Marie Johnson the pardon czar. So she goes over the cases, the federal cases and presents Donald Trump to who gets the pardons. I think that's very interesting. The first time that we ever had a pardon czar, right? And I think that's very interesting, whether people like Donald Trump or not, but to have a pardon czar and to go over, because we already know over the years, the justice system, the crime bill and everything, Black folks was being locked up like crazy, and some were getting certain length of sentences that they should never have had, especially nonviolent, especially things that nonviolent. They got caught in the airport and they got 25 years, So, I mean, I think that's good that this Black woman is in charge to go over people's pardons and recommend the pardons. So I think that's.
So I left a comment and I'm happy about that part. But I said for me, because your article says, what's the title of the article? What's the title? Go back there. Is he redefining
criminal justice and politics?
So I said for me, and I'm just speaking for myself, a greater example of redefining criminal justice politics would have been pardoning Assata Shakur, who's Joanne Chesimard, or political activist and journalist Mumia Abdul-Jabbar. That would have been the very definition of.
No.
So let me finish my comment. Let me finish my comment. That would have been the very definition of redefining criminal justice politics, not pardoning a rapper convicted of a federal gun charge and commuting the federal convictions of a celebrated notorious gangster. No disrespect to either individual. You know what I'm saying? But pardoning political activists who fought the ongoing struggle for civil rights and challenges faced by those who advocate for social justice, on and on and on. That would be, to me, refining criminal justice politics. Now, I'm happy to see this sister as a federal clemency advisor, quote, pardon czar, and I hope she will use the position to advance, to advocate for those who are many deserving political prisoners who have fought for justice and spoke up against racial injustice and systemic biases. That's what I wanted to add to it, because we always talk about, the celebration of rappers and gangsters. You know what I'm saying? So just like I just wanted to put that same perspective on it. Not saying they weren't deserving of their pardons and stuff, but again, we're talking about a rapper who's got federal gun charges and a celebrated notorious gangster. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's, there's a lot of people who fought in the struggle who are in jail for years that they deserve that I would like to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you totally. But my whole thing is this: Obama ain't do it.
No, and again,
Obama.
This is not about Trump and Obama. I'm saying what I would like to see now that we have this, regardless of who's doing it. I would like it not to be, because we see a lot of things that are symbolism without substance, and I would like this not to be that by doing rappers and celebrated notorious gangsters. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are things we're going to talk about when there's a lot of people that's deserving of the struggle.
At the end of the day, it's going to be politics.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, as somebody who is an advocate for criminal justice reform and a criminal justice reform advocate, I would like to see that. And that's just my personal, again, that was me. I would like to see more of that. And I said, I'm happy for the sister. I see somebody else is on. Is that Charles?
I think so.
I don't know who D. Griffith is. I don't know who that is.
I think so.
So yeah, I just wanted right. Again, it's important to capture these things from all aspects of it.
Where all these people coming from?
I'm trying to tell you, people been clicking on. I'm telling you, before the show started, I saw somebody. I was like, yo, who's Charlotte? Somebody who's giving out. Somebody shared the link that you shared with somebody.
I gave it to y'all too.
So listen. So for everybody who can hear my voice, whether you're watching this live or you're trying to tune in, the link we gave out is only for the candidates and the moderator. Everybody else has to watch on Facebook, LinkedIn.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I just want to. Don't even.
You said what you had to say.
But I don't know if Charles is call Charles and find out if he's one of these.
Once Charles Long's face get in there, whoever is not supposed to be in here will be removed. because I only gave the link to you and Charles.
Okay. Well, while we waiting on Charles, you got any last words, and then you can put the candidates on, and I can just introduce them, and we wait for Charles so we can they can do their opening introduction part while we waiting. You're muted or something, I think. If you're talking to us, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're talking personally. Oh, yeah. So yes, if Damon, I'm talking to you. If you are done and you got your last words, bring on the two candidates so they can do their opening comments while we wait for Charles to come in. Okay, you started to bring them in, but I need you to bring both the candidates in so we can start. Damon, I know you can hear me. I know you're on the phone. Can you bring both candidates on the screen for me so we can move forward?
Hold on. Let me wait till Charles get in because it's the way the cameras are going to come up. Then I got to switch the cameras around.
All right, 1 second. I'm coming in.
All right.
Okay. I see he's on the phone. Okay, so we're doing this in real time. This is live and live in color. So this will happen when things are live and they're not sitting in the studio. We're not sitting in a room somewhere. So we our host, our moderators coming on. Thank you both candidates for your patience. We greatly appreciate y'all. And our moderator's coming on in a second. So matter of fact, while we're doing that, and y'all can still hear this part, let me go over the rules. So as I stated before, even though the word debate was used in some places, this is not a debate. This is a candidate forum. Judicial candidates are not supposed to debate. So there's not a debate. It's a candidate forum. Secondly, okay, you took me off the screen. Okay. Secondly, well, you already know this is virtual. I don't have to say that part. Audience chats, comments, and reactions were disabled on YouTube to ensure fairness, professionalism, and focus on the candidate. So nobody supporters of one candidate or nothing is going to be throwing angry comments or whatever at any of the candidates. So for fairness, and because it's a judicial thing, a judicial candidate forum, all comments, reactions are disabled. Judicial candidates in New York State are permitted to participate. The word debate is used again. I'm going to say forum during the election campaigns, provided they comply with the ethical standards set forth in the rules governing judicial conduct and the Judicial Campaign Ethics Handbook. All candidates must ensure that their participation upholds the integrity of the judiciary, maintains public confidence in judicial impartiality, avoids any statements that suggest bias or comments to future rulings. So the format is going to be an opening statement. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and their judicial philosophy or why we should vote for you. Then there's going to be questions will be presented by the moderator. You each will have 2 minutes to answer the question. There will only be, hold on, the YouTube, what is the YouTube link? Cheryl, go to YouTube and put in Black Westchester. You'll see our page, click on our page, and it will come up. It's live on YouTube. Okay, so each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. I'm not doing rebuttals with the exception of if a candidate specifically mentions his or her opponent in their question, then the person mentioned will have a minute to rebuttal. Other than that, it's just going to be 2 minutes for each candidate to answer the questions. And closing statements the candidates will have about 2 minutes to deliver remarks. Already said about the comments being, candidates. So just so y'all know, and this is not the candidates, this is for the audience. Candidates cannot comment on pending or future court cases. So when you hear me not ask about specific cases, don't be calling me up talking about why I didn't ask about a specific case. They cannot make campaign promises about legal outcomes. So I can't say, hey, Danielle, how would you rule in the Dwayne Murray thing? I can't ask a question like that because she can't answer it. They can't show or imply bias on issues likely to come before them in court. I think that's self-explanatory. And they cannot engage in personal attacks or political grandstanding. Candidates are encouraged to focus on judicial temperament, professional experience, courtroom management, and commitment to fairness and the rule of law. The moderators will enforce the rules, manage time, and maintain a decorum. There may be, at the moderator's discretion, the moderator may ask a follow-up if it needs to be clarified, like if the answer wasn't clear or not. There will be, but even in the follow-ups, the moderator must remain neutral. Any violation of conduct will result in warnings. Okay, so basically that is the rules of the thing. Damon, where's Charles at? I heard him say he's coming in. I'm trying to keep this moving because everybody want to do this in a timely manner and don't want people. I mean, if we go over 8 o'clock, that's not a problem. Unlike the studio, we don't got no show coming on after us. But I want to respect.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, Charles had to switch to Chrome.
Oh, switch. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So I just want to keep the audience informed and let them know what's going on. So they're like, yo, what's going on? What's keeping y'all? What's holding it? So candidates, I can see you, they can't see you. You heard the everything I read. Give me a thumbs up if everything sounds good and clear and everything to you. Peter, everything was clear to you? Okay, got thumbs up. Okay, so we got the candidates in the back room. We're waiting for the moderator. Again, the moderator is Charles Billups. Damon, actually come back on and tell people who Charles Billups is to make up some time while we're doing this. Tell people who Charles Billups is.
Yo, I'm trying to get him logged in. Just handle your business. Handle that.
This is the beautiful thing of doing live. So Cheryl, did you get it, everybody? So for everybody who's tuning in for the first time, you're watching Black Westchester presents the People Before Politics radio show. We're on every week, 6 to 8, simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, occasionally on Instagram as well. We're on several Facebook pages, my personal one, Damon's personal one, and I'm not sure what the other two are. We're on LinkedIn, on Damon's page, and maybe the Black Westchester page. We're on the Black Westchester YouTube page, and on X, we're on Damon's X Twitter page. So make sure whatever format you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave comments to the shows of what's going on. Shezdan, New York State candidates can debate. Make sure that you're accurate. Listen. I read what I read, and one of the candidates. So I've been doing these debates for the last 8 years, and most say they can't debate. What's clear is they can't answer certain questions, and I was clear on that. So this, regardless of whether they can or cannot debate, this will be a candidate forum, not a debate. Each candidate will answer every question, and they will have 2 minutes to answer. Brenda, thank you for posting the link to YouTube for all those who still wanted it. And I hear you, and you can keep posting stuff. I'm just telling you, Black Westchester doing the candidate forum, and the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each question. This will not be a debate. And, either that's cool with everybody or it's not. But if you have a problem, then you put your own debate together, and that's all I have to say about that. So Charles is almost here. Damon, understood, just clarifying. No problem, Shez. We good people. We good. I just like to keep it real with my people. Like, we don't need no unnecessary, misinformation. Yo, Damon, if he's not on in the next minute, you got to put them on the screen because we're wasting time. Okay, I see him pop up. Okay, here we go. Charles just popped up. Put Charles on the phone. Put Charles on. Charles, my brother, here we go. Charles Billups, Damon was supposed to do your introduction. Just tell everybody who you are real briefly, and then you got I read the rules and everything. You got them in the email as well as the questions. So just introduce yourself so people know who you are.
Oh, well, good evening, everyone. I'm Charles Billups. I'm chair of the Grand Council of Guardians. I represent a large number of Black law enforcement here in New York State. I represent over a dozen different Guardian chapters throughout the state of New York. It's a law enforcement organization.
So, and the main reason, again, and I want to say this, and because we always want to be open and we just keep it real. So Damon is part of an organization called Blacks in Law Enforcement, which endorsed one of the candidates. So Damon cannot be a part of this. So we got someone who is not from Westchester, who don't have no allegiance and don't have no horse in the race, ain't got no allegiance to nobody in Westchester. And that's why we brought in my brother, Charles Billups. So candidates, I'm going to start with in alphabetical order, Danielle Brown, and then Peter Davis, 2 minutes to introduce yourself. You got to unmute yourself.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. First of all, thank you, Black Westchester, for putting this together. Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Brown, and I'm proud to be the Democratic Party's endorsed candidate for Mount Vernon City Court judge. I'm not just running on experience, I'm running on impact. I bring a strong legal foundation, courtroom experience, and a unique perspective of having written and passed laws as a city council member who's deeply invested in our community. I've spent years helping families protect their legacies through estate and Medicaid planning, supporting small businesses with legal structures, and ensuring underserved communities have access to justice. I've worked on landlord-tenant disputes, consumer debt matters, and even asbestos litigation. So I know how the courtroom operates and how the law impacts people's lives. I've been on the front lines of Mount Vernon's issues, not just in theory, but in real time, working on legislation, addressing systematic barriers, and showing up when it counts. I bring the vision to evolve the court. We deserve a system that's not only experienced, but fair, accessible, and equipped to meet people where they are, especially when it comes to mental health and modernizing court processes. I am Mount Vernon, raised here since I was 6 years old. I've served this community as a legislator, a lawyer, and an advocate. I understand the challenges our residents face every day, and I bring compassion, scholarship, and diligence to everything that I do. I don't just understand the law, I understand how it lands on people. And this moment is about more than a title. It's about who you trust to lead with integrity, to listen without judgment, and to make fair decisions that reflect the values of our city. That's why I'm honored to be endorsed by the County Executive Ken Jenkins, Teamsters Local 456, the AFL-CIO, and 1199, because they know I have the heart, the experience, and the readiness to serve. They know that I will treat every person that comes before me with the utmost respect. Judges should be neutral in the courtroom, but not invisible in the community. I've earned this community's trust by being present, listening, and acting, and I'm ready to serve Mount Vernon with the care and commitment it deserves. Thank you very much.
Mr. Davis, Judge Davis, sorry. You got to unmute yourself. He disappeared. What you do, Judge? What happened? His device is not connected. Okay, we're going to give the judge a minute to redo. Damon, call the judge and see what his issue is. Where's Damon? Damon, call the judge and see what the issue is. Please bear with us, Danielle. Okay, he's doing that. This is also modern technology. This is why during times like this, and you have never had a chance because we stopped using the studio after COVID. But before COVID, we were in a studio in Yonkers. So all the people were sitting across from me, and I was on a mic, and I was sitting right there, and I was looking everybody in their face. I actually miss that at times like this because we don't have these glitches. The person's there, and they're there. So he's signing back up, I think, and we're waiting, or I think Damon's contacting him. And full clarity, so I don't know if that was 2 minutes or not because I just realized we don't have a timekeeper, so I had to find a time watch. So he's going to get his full time to say his thing because I didn't time you, and I think it was over 2 minutes. So as long as you don't grossly go over, he's going to get time. And I do have the stopwatch fixed now because, again, I just got in town 3 hours ago. So it's just like I was not prepared for this whole thing. Okay, I see somebody came up. Okay, Judge Davis, put him on the screen. Oh, now – where'd he go? Where you go? Okay, I'm gonna need y'all to fix this real quick so we can go forward. Find out, Damon, call and find out what the issue is real quick so we can find out what the issue is. So we're not holding Charles and Danielle, and we're just not and losing our audience, and because we're stopped in the middle of the process. Again, this is why I like the studio, because again, it was there. I had a timekeeper sitting right next to me. I looked you in the face. When I said time, if you didn't, I muted your mic. It was a beautiful thing. So I kind of missed the studio, but we stopped once COVID hit. We everything was shut down. We couldn't use the studio, and then the studio up. Charles, you got your time? Okay, you got your. So, okay, Charles, so you're going to be the timekeeper? Okay, I actually have a timekeeper here too if we need to, because I was just about to call you to be my timekeeper. So we actually have.
Charles, while we wait, how long was my opening?
I was downloading.
No, I'm asking Charles.
No, I didn't clock it yet.
Right. That's what I said. We didn't clock it. And that's what I was like, okay. And I was like, this was set up without a timekeeper, and that's very important. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna have to. Yes, Jack. You actually, Damon, play the music. Afro Circus, play the music. Yes.
Or let her speak a little more.
Would you like to go on about who you are and since go ahead. Let me give you another minute or so.
1 minute?
Yeah, 1 minute. Go ahead, Danielle.
Sure. So, as I said, I've been in Mount Vernon over 30 years. I went to the Mount Vernon School District. I played basketball here. I went to Columbia University and played basketball there as well. I went on to University of Miami School of Law, graduated cum laude, and used to work in-house for the WNBA team, Atlanta Dream. I did asbestos litigation, consumer debt litigation, landlord-tenant litigation, a bunch of pro bono work with the program Claro, which provides pro se litigants with attorneys for legal advice, etc. But I am Mount Vernon, as I said. I love my city. I'm also on the board of Destination College, which is the organization that helps student athletes from Mount Vernon High School get into college and stay in college. And I love that because I was an athlete, and it's essentially helping people like me get into school. Thank you.
Yes, and I love our audience because they are always engaged, and people like Jack. So, no, you weren't 2 minutes. Jack said you was 1 minute and 37 seconds.
Oh, so I had extra time.
So I love our audience. Okay, Judge Davis, 2:30, because she got extra 30 seconds. As soon as you're ready, you can't hear. Wait, don't start it yet. First off, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, we lost him. This at this rate, this may just be an interview and not a debate because we got to keep the show moving.
It's not letting him unmute for some reason. Every time he unmutes, it kicks him out. So I don't know if it's his browser or what.
I can't show you a comment, Jack, because I said no comments. But it's funny though. So one more time, call him, put him back on. And if it happens again, I'm telling the audience we're gonna ask the questions, and this will be a Danielle Brown for Judge interview. Because we gotta keep going. We can't.
And then you do the same thing for him.
Yeah, we just come at a different time and just give him an how many long time and do the same thing. So we're going to try it. So is that good? That's okay with you, Danielle? That's
absolutely
cool? Okay. So just so everybody's, we want to keep everything cool. So we'll still ask you the same questions, and then you'll just answer them. You'll have more time to answer them now because you don't have, and then we'll give him the same time and work that out. But we're going to give him one more chance to log on he's having a problem. So answering people's questions. So somebody named Elevation 1111 who's been trying to log on. Yes, you can watch this on the YouTube channel. You can watch it on the YouTube channel. The link that comes on for the screen, that link is only for the actual guests, the two candidates and the moderator, and nobody else is going on screen. I don't care if somebody gave you a link, you're not going on screen, because there's been at least 5 different people who popped up, and I don't know where these people came from, and I don't know any of them. I do know one person who popped up, and he, when I said, "What are you here for?" he left. So I'm not sure where. I'm not sure. Yes, it's his browser. Thank you, Caitlin. Damon is communicating with him, so we're going to give him another couple of minutes, and then again, we're going to give you 30 minutes, and just like a straight 30 minutes for you, and then he's going to get a straight 30 minutes uninterrupted to answer the questions and everything. So we're just going to do that. It would have been nice to have you both on the screen and have you both answer at the same time, and but if that's not possible right now, the show must go on, and we cannot hold the people up. And next week, we will have this taken care of. People will sign in a little earlier, and we will do a little test run just in case. So we won't have this problem again next week. So we're going to give him it's 7:22, 7:25. We're moving on without him, with or without him. I'm muting my mic real quick because I just want to say something. Yes. Okay. So thank you for everybody who's tuned in. Again, if you tuned in for the first time, you're not watching this for the first time, this is Black Westchester presents the People Before Politics radio show. Today we are doing a candidate forum for Mount Vernon City Court judge candidates, Danielle Brown and Judge Danielle Brown, who is council president. You are. I wanted to make sure that you were president before I said president. Is the Mount Vernon Council president right now, and Judge Peter Davis, who is was appointed on the bench by Mayor Sean Patterson Howard, and has to run in this election and is running in the Democratic primary for the seat. So those are the two candidates running. Stop, Jack. This is a serious candidate forum. I can't take your jokes right now. We have a regular guy, Jack Toon. He's a regular listener, and he's always got jokes about no matter who it is. And he has a bunch, and I'm not putting them on the screen because I'm trying not to take away from this. But yeah, so what was I saying? So it's Black Westchester presents the People Before Politics radio show. We're on every Sunday, 6 to 8. Yes, 6 to 8. And we simulcast live on Facebook, several Facebook pages, on LinkedIn, several LinkedIn pages, Black Westchester's YouTube, and on X, on Damon's X channel. Thank you for all the people, as Damon read. So we got close to 600,000 views to our videos for the month of May, which is incredible. And like I said, one show, we had like 200 comments on there. I'm sure all of them weren't live, some of them were later. But keep doing that. Like, subscribe, share. That's how we grow. That's how the algorithm grows. That's how we can monetize the channel and keep this thing going. So thank you. This is only possible because of all of you who've been riding. We're going on 11 years. Been riding with us for 11 years, and appreciate all of you. So it is. Thank you, Bill. So it's 11:25. So we are going with Plan B. Charles. So Danielle's going to get from now to 8 o'clock. Danielle, we're going to ask her the questions. She's going to get this 35 minutes, and we're going to ask her the questions, and she's going to answer them. So, and we'll try to get this done by 8 o'clock, and we'll give Peter Davis the same amount of time at a later date, and as soon as possible, so we can. And I will put the videos on Black Westchester side by side on the same post, so y'all can see what both candidates says. You ready, Charles, with the questions? Okay.
Well, my first question, just wanted to jump back. She was saying that she's council president. Well, you a city council member? That's what that is?
Correct. Yes, I'm city council. I'm a city council member. And city council president is essentially the speaker for council.
Yeah, I got that part. But what district in Mount Vernon?
We don't have districts. We're all at large, and it's 5 council members.
Oh, all right, great. Awesome. All right. Well, we're gonna go right to the questions based on time. So these questions are already written up. They basically given to me. I will probably add 1 or 2 other ones in between. But based on the question that's been given to me, dealing with some traditional temperament and community insight, I'm going to rephrase the questions based on they gave it to me, but I'm going to put it in a way where I can understand it, and probably I believe you could too also. And the first question could probably come out dealing with you're now a sitting judge, and
I am not, sir.
No, I'm just be make believing you are a sitting judge right now. In this sense, you are a sitting judge, and the question will come out like, how would you deal with a highly charged case, which is very emotional and heavily watched based on the community?
Yeah, so I think being on the bench requires judicial temperament, right? And I think it's more than just being calm. It's about being disciplined. It's about being measured and emotionally intelligent in the face of high stakes decisions. I think it means I would have to listen before judging. It would mean that I would treat everyone in the courtroom with dignity and staying grounded, no matter how tense or how complex a case becomes. That's the way I've led as a city council member, as an attorney, as someone trusted to make fair, thoughtful decisions that impacts people's lives. I think it also would mean that I would have to extend grace. I would have to know when to hold the line. I would have to know how to communicate clearly and respectfully with everyone, whether they have legal representation or they're standing in court alone. I think that clarity and control doesn't just come from theory. It comes from real experience, real leadership, and real connection. And I would bring that to the court, whether it's a high stakes case or not. I've been able to show that in my career as city council. I've been city council president twice in my 4 years. I was the youngest and the 4th Black woman to do it. And I think it's also where community insight matters. I've been raised in Mount Vernon since I was 6 years old. I've walked these blocks. I sat in these living rooms. I've shown up, not just at election time, but year round. And I know the fears people carry into court, the confusion they feel, and the barriers they face, because I've helped them through it. And I would be able to have that perspective on the bench and understand what's at stake and bring that legal knowledge that is necessary.
So would you say out of all the things you just ran down and you went across, will they be helpful if and when, or if you become a sitting judge? Would that help you in dealing with individuals concerning them same type of cases?
Absolutely. Being a judge is about being fair, being accessible, being impartial, being able to respect the individuals before you. And all of that will help me, right? I think having that temperament to lead with fairness and the insight to serve with compassion is going to be helpful. And I think I'm ready to put them to work for this community.
So the next question would be then, how would you deal with individuals who's standing in front of you for the first time, if you are a sitting judge, and those who may have the lack of representation?
I would deal with them with the same respect, right? I don't think representation garners you more respect than someone who doesn't have representation. I think a lot of people are scared of the court system. There's a lack of trust with the courts, and I think public trust is going to be the foundation of a functioning justice system. Without it, the law becomes something people fear rather than rely on. And for many in our community, the courtroom can feel like a place where decisions are made about them, not with them or for them, and that disconnect leads to frustration, fear, and silence. And we can't afford that in a system that is meant to serve people. So everyone that comes before me will be treated with respect, their cases will be judged impartially. They'll have empathy from me, right? And I'll make sure that the law applies fairly to them across the board, no matter if they have representation or not.
So I know Westchester does things a little different from the city, because you automatically be assigned a public defender in the city. What would you do to enhance representation as a judge? Because you can make some changes or you can offer ideas at least in the idea of making sure people are given the fair opportunity for representation?
Yeah, I think there's a few things, right? Some of the ideas that I have is more access to legal resources. So as I said, a lot of people don't understand the process. They're intimidated by the court system. Documents that understand the process and have it in plain English, right? No legalese, no big words or things like that, help people feel more comfortable understanding the process and their rights. As I mentioned, I used to do pro bono work for Claro, setting up programs where people can get help, legal advice would assist in that access to justice. Also, I think when we're dealing with mental health issues or cases, right? I think justice should restore and not just punish. So I think it's important that we collaborate with providers and have diversionary programs for folks who are the most vulnerable in our system. Currently in Mount Vernon, we have an emerging court that helps us deal with cases who are with youth who are involved in a situation, and it's helping to divert them from the system, making sure that a bad decision doesn't impact the rest of their life. And I think we need to do something similar with mental health issues, right? People in crisis need more than punishment. They need support, they need structure and accountability that doesn't derail their future. Whether it's a young person who made a mistake or someone living with mental illness, I would approach each case with compassion, clarity, and a deep understanding of how trauma, poverty, and untreated health issues can affect behavior. I think my job as a judge will be to apply the law fairly, but also to ensure that the courtroom is not just a place of consequence, but of opportunity. I think that starts with making every individual understand the process, their rights and their option. I think it means speaking in plain language, as I mentioned. I think it means listening carefully. I think it means tailoring solutions when the law allows for it. I'm a strong believer in using diversion programs, treatment plans, restorative justice models, and other alternatives to incarceration when appropriate. And that's not just about being lenient. I think it's about being effective. The court should be a point of intervention, not just punishment. It should be holistic. Right. And as a legislator, I've already worked on issues surrounding, housing, youth support services. I've sat across the table from people trying to navigate broken systems, and I've helped draft policies to fix them. So I'll bring that same systems level thinking to the bench and ensure that the court works with our service providers and not in isolation from them.
Well, I mean, since we on that note, and you just and we still, saying that if you are sitting on the bench, if and when, now all of a sudden something comes up where it's not connected to your values or the values you are aligned with, where you have to make a decision that may not be popular by you morally based on your alignments and the community itself. What would you do then?
I'm not sure I understand.
Let's say you're in front of a case, and now you had to make a decision where a person have to go in the system. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a young child going into some kind of services, or someone who has to spend time in jail for his next court date, or anything in that type of sense. What would you think, and how would you feel then in dealing with that? Based on all the items you just ran to me about all the services you've been providing. The issue is that periodically, we all know judges got to make decisions. And sometimes they're not as popular as people want them to be. So my question to you would be then, what kind of mindset would you be in, and how would it affect you in making those decisions that are not popular?
So I think being a judge is also about leadership, and ethical accountability. So what's considered popular, my job is to look at a particular case, look at the facts of the case, and apply the law and interpret the law, right? And apply it fairly across the board. I think a judge must lead with integrity, impartiality, and courage to do what is right, even when it's not easy or popular, right? To my point before, I've held leadership roles as a city council member, as a city council president, where I've been responsible for making decisions that directly affect people's lives. And I've also always done so with integrity, honesty, and transparency and accountability. I've had to listen to competing interests, stay grounded in the facts, and make principled choices under pressure. I think that's what really leadership is, right? It's the kind that translates directly to the bench. And it's not always making the popular decision. It's about doing what's right and what's just. And as a judge, you would have to do that. So in every situation, I would approach with impartiality, with respect, and just to be fair. And that's how I would look at every case.
All right. And then, I mean, just to add to that, based on what you just said.
So let me stop you, Charles, real quick. So
yes.
She's been going on for 11. How many questions did you ask her in these 11 minutes?
How many questions we got to? We was getting ready to do the fifth one.
Okay, so he did 4. Now, since he's on the screen, do you mind if I give him the same 11 minutes and let him answer those 4 questions? Then y'all can go back and forth like we were supposed to do. So we're not. Do you have a problem with that, Daniel?
No. Sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
So, put up 11 minutes for me on the screen. Judge Davis, before first you got 2 minutes for your intro, and then you got 11 minutes to answer the 4 questions she answered while you were going. So
certainly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. I don't have an iPhone. I have an Android. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the city of Mount Vernon. I want to first thank Black Westchester and for giving me this opportunity. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but let me get right into it. I believe that I'm the best candidate for judge in the city of Mount Vernon this current election cycle. I have 31 years of experience and in the justice system. And I started my career as a assistant district attorney in Westchester County. And I prosecuted crimes throughout Westchester County and including the city of Mount Vernon. And then I segued over to criminal defense, where I represented indigent, poor individuals who could not afford counsel from 1999 here in the city of Mount Vernon. I've represented thousands of individuals. I've represented generations that have come through Mount Vernon City Court. That has been my home court since 1999. I've done hundreds of trials. In 2019, I joined the Homicide Defense Task Force in the New York City, and I've done dozens of homicides throughout New York City. I ascended to the bench in 2022, and as the associate judge, and I've always said, if you want to be a full-time judge, you should be the associate judge first. That is the pathway that I took to be the full-time judge, so I could be day one ready when I became the full-time judge. I've also done hundreds of cases here in the city of Mount Vernon pro bono. I've done the Sean Bell case in Queens pro bono for Valerie and William Bell. I've been deeply dedicated to public service. I've worked internship at Sing Sing prison while I was in college for the pre-release program. I've been an auxiliary police officer. So I've been dedicated both in law enforcement, on the law enforcement side, as a DA, as an auxiliary police officer, and then I've also been a defense attorney for decades before ascending to the bench. So I thank you for this opportunity. I believe that I am the best candidate, and I put in the work here in the city of Mount Vernon. Thank you. Okay,
so I want to thank everybody for their patience. So that was the intro. You got about the same time she got. Danielle Brown had 11 minutes. She answered 4 questions. Give me 11 minutes. Okay, it's ready. Charles, I need you to ask Judge Peter Davis the same 4 questions. You have 11 minutes, and then from that, y'all are caught up. Question 5, we're going to go back and forth like it's supposed to be, but I'd rather do it while y'all are both on the screen and both people can hear from both of y'all than to do one today and one tomorrow, because, I'd rather do it if that's okay. So if y'all don't have a problem, Judge Charles, go ahead and start question 1.
Well, in that case, the first question, since you are already a sitting judge, and you said you have done hundreds of, I'm assuming, criminal court cases. Let's say, think of one of the ones which was probably highly charged, where you had to basically take control of the situation and make a strong decision on it.
Start now.
You mean as a judge?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've had many cases before me. we're technically under the judiciary rules not supposed to talk about.
No, we don't need to know the names or the substance of the case. The general idea was, how would you deal with a highly charged case?
Well, you deal with a highly charged case in terms of you follow the ethics first and foremost that you're supposed to follow as a judge. And sometimes we make decisions as judges that are not highly popular with respect to the community, with respect to individuals, but you still have to do what's in the best interest of the community in any given situation. And that's what you have to use and balance your experience in being fair and impartial, but always to put the ethics of being a judge before you put politics. And again, I like to say that in this election cycle, I'm not a politician running for political office. I'm a judge running for judicial one. And it's important to put aside whatever politics may enter into a situation and try to do the right thing at all times, regardless of whether it is unpopular or not. So I'm deeply always concerned about doing the ethical thing, the right thing in any given situation, regardless of the political consequences. I've had individuals come before me that were political and I'm not going to mention the cases or names, obviously, for that particular reason. And I said, I'm going to always do the right thing on any given case.
Well, then I'm going to throw two parts. The next two questions, I'm going to somewhat combine it. This way we can move forward. And in situations like yours, what you just said, dealing with people from different backgrounds and different communities, how would that affect your decisions, affect you on making decisions? And also, what would you do to make sure that they have proper and fair legal representation in dealing with those kind of cases?
When you say dealing with people from different communities, or you mean from
Latino,
different backgrounds,
communities at risk?
Yeah. First and foremost, I'm a product of immigration. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica. And so I deal with a lot of immigrant populations, and I understand how, especially in these charged times, how, and I believe that we're stronger as a nation because of immigration, obviously. And I'm deeply cognizant and aware. I've had people from all backgrounds appear in front of me. I've always socialized with people from all backgrounds, all religious backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, whether they're citizens, whether they're immigrants. And when it relates to young people, I've been deeply involved during the course. As I indicated, I've volunteered in the pre-release program to get individuals acclimated to returning to society. My college degree was actually in criminal justice. I've been to Rikers numerous times. I've been to Valhalla Correctional numerous times. I've been to Woodfield Cottage, which houses juveniles, numerous times. I know the places of incarceration. I know the elements of restorative justice to bring in people to sit down with one another. I've engaged in that. So I do understand the rehabilitative process to not allow people to recidivate and come back routinely. I've facilitated people entering drug rehab. I've facilitated and given numerous second chances for people who've failed out of a task or not gone for drug treatment to come back, because I recognize that drug addiction is punishment in and of itself for the people that are using drugs. So I'm deeply aware, after the thousands of cases that I've done, and in particular as it relates to young Black males, having represented so many of them on serious cases such as homicides and bonded with individuals and understanding where they come from in terms of the stresses and the city life and the rough background that they come from. So I can relate in those situations.
Well, and then, I mean, then in that case, how would you make sure that these individuals get fair and fair legal representation in dealing with these kind of cases while they standing in front of you?
Well, first of all, we have a great 18B indigent defense counsel in the city of Mount Vernon, and I'm familiar with all of the attorneys, deeply familiar with all of them, and they're vetted by Westchester County Bar Association, and I'm aware of the length of representation and the quality of representation that they all do, and I make certain that the attorneys that are best equipped, I assign those attorneys on those cases so that they can have the sort of zealous representation that they're entitled to. And we have serious cases that come from Mount Vernon City Court. And throughout, from 1999 until the present, I've been involved in many of those cases and seen many of those cases, which ultimately end up in county court. And people here deserve and need the best and most zealous quality representation. And I try to ensure that by making certain that I assign those attorneys to those given cases.
Then to add on to this way we can catch up with Danielle to make sure things are being fair. So during that time while you was on the bench and the examples you gave me, how did times come, or how do you feel in making those difficult situations that didn't align up with some of your beliefs or what you thought? When you had to make decisions where somebody had to go to jail or into the system somehow and things like that?
Well, I can tell you this, my beliefs are largely irrelevant. And when I say that, there are people who feel a certain way about bail reform, whether you're for it or against it. We as judges have to follow the law. And there are principles of precedent. There's stare decisis, where we have to follow vertical precedent from higher courts. We have to follow horizontal precedent from our given court, from other judges. So there are methodologies which we have to ensure that our feelings don't come into play, because our feelings are largely irrelevant. You have to be fair, you have to be neutral, you have to follow the law. And I've done that for 31 years. I've been in the trenches here, specifically in the city of Mount Vernon, doing it. So, and this is what, regardless of how I've ever felt about a client, in doing, let's say, homicide cases, I've given the most zealous representation in some very heinous accusations made against clients. I don't allow, and as a defense attorney or a judge, I don't allow my feelings to come into play. I follow the law as it is written at all times. That is the obligation. That is the duty.
All right, thank you. Danielle, you want to add to that question, or are we going to move on to the next one? Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, we can move on to the next one.
All right, the next question is, I'm going to
read. We're even now?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going back to our regular thing where each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. So that's where we're back to. And I hope everybody appreciated how it went down. I was just trying to keep this thing going. And
you going to keep the time, AJ, or I got it?
I have a timekeeper sitting right next to me.
All right, cool. Great.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. It says here, the next question is, and this is for the both of y'all. When faced with the gray area in the law, how do you weigh in your reasoning and come to a sound decision? Danielle, you want to come first?
Sure. I mean, I think, as a judge, it's essential to interpret the law faithfully and apply legal precedent with consistency and care. I think I fully respect the doctrine of stare decisis and will follow established precedent. I think that ensures stability in the law and fairness for people who rely on consistent outcomes. But I think legal interpretation also requires critical thinking and discipline. It's not about just following rules. It's about understanding legislative intent, reading statutes closely, and applying the law to specific facts before you. I think that's something that I've done as a lawyer and as a legislator. I've interpreted local and state and federal laws, and I've also written laws, which gives me a deep appreciation for how every word in a statute matters. I think that experience is critical in city court, where judges often make quick but important decisions that impact people's homes, finances, and livelihoods. My approach will be rooted in the text of the law, the binding case law that governs it, and the duty to treat each person fairly and consistently, while also recognizing the specific circumstances of their case. And while precedent provides that legal foundation, as I said, I believe judges must also understand the real world impact of their rulings. And that's why I bring more than just legal training. I bring empathy, I bring discernment, a strong understanding of how law affects people in everyday lives. The best judges know how to balance consistency with clarity, and I'm ready to bring that balance to the bench here in Mount Vernon.
Beautiful.
Great. Judge Davis?
Yes. When you reach the gray areas, and especially as it relates to legislation, you not only have to read the legislative intent that is written into the statutes, because they have many comments as to the legislative intent, and it's where many of the laws are actually derived from, and they put that into the legislation. So if there are gray areas, one thing that I'll say too is that I would call upon the 31 years of experience that I have, because what I do recognize is that if you're making a decision, let's say at trial, during a jury trial, you have to have a solid foundation in the rules of evidence. And you can't just open up a textbook and try to figure out things. You have to be ready. You have to know the law. You have to have had the experience of doing this to know what the right decision is when you're making rulings. So I would call upon the great length of experience that I've had to not only utilize my reading of the legislative intent, but to make that decision.
So I just want to add another piece, and either one can go, or you could continue talking. Because we talked about a gray area with the bail reform and all this criminal justice reform, along with the bail reform, is if based on what I've known and what I've heard from other judges, it created a vast gray area in a whole lot of different areas, based on the way the crimes are being committed or being adjusted or dealt with in the courtrooms, or either somebody standing in front of you based on what crime they committed. How would you deal that then in dealing with the bail reforms? Because it's been said that a lot of judges feel somewhat hesitant in dealing with it straightforward because of those gray areas in the bail reform.
Judge Davis first, and then Danielle.
Go ahead, Davis. Judge Davis, you can finish.
Yeah, I've had to deal with it both on both sides of the fence, if you will. I've had to deal with it both from the perspective of being a defense attorney, and then the perspective of being a judge, because as you can recall, I was the associate judge while I was still doing homicides in New York City. So I've had to deal with it from both sides. And the law is written as the law is written. And one of the things about the bail reform is that there are qualified offenses and then there are unqualified offenses. And that's written into statute, and that's by the state legislature. And it deprives discretion, if you will, on what to do with certain offenses. And that's not something that you have the ability to move on as a judge, because you have to follow the law as it is written. So again, regardless of how I feel about it, my feelings on the matter are largely irrelevant as to the bail reform, because it is written by the legislature as it is written. And when it comes to discretion. I always have felt, in terms of incarceration is the nuclear option. People deserve second chances. People deserve the opportunity. Bail is for the purpose of securing somebody's presence in court. It is not meant ever to be punitive, and I've never treated it as such.
Ms. Brown? Danielle, you can unmute yourself.
Sorry, there we go. Can you see me? Hear me?
Got you.
All right. So I think, as a judge, my job will be to follow the law, not make it, and to apply it fairly and consistently. But within the framework of the law, there are still gray areas that require discretion, judgment, and a clear understanding of the facts that are in front of me. And where discretion is allowed, I'll consider the totality of the circumstances, including a person's ties to the community, their prior record, the nature of the charges, and any risk to public safety. I'll ask thoughtful questions and ensure that both sides are heard. And if supervised release or other non-monetary conditions can ensure a person's return to court, I'll consider those options carefully. At the same time, I will never lose sight of the human impact. I know that for many people, a few nights in jail can cost a job. It can cost custody of a child or even access to vital medication. And that's why I believe that bail decisions must be made with fairness, with compassion, and a deep respect for due process. Ultimately, gray areas don't call for guesswork. They call for good judgment. And that's what I'll bring to the bench. Careful, principled decisions grounded in the law, in the facts, and the values of this community.
All right, thank you. Next question. It says here, how do you see the role of humility in judicial leadership, and how do you apply it in your work?
We'll start with Danielle this time.
Danielle?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Danielle, you got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time unmuting. Okay. Judge Davis passed on his troubles to me. So I think humility is important, right? I think, because someone is a judge, that doesn't mean that they're better than someone. That doesn't put them in a position to look down on. As I mentioned earlier, respect is going to be important in the courts across all backgrounds, across all nationalities. So it's important to be humble. And I think as a judge, the requirement isn't to know every single thing. It's to be able to make good decisions, how to run a court, right? There may be times in a court where you don't know something and you feel comfortable taking a break to learn the law. I think that's what humility is, not being arrogant. Stepping up when it's necessary. If something was done in a court previous to the case getting to you, acknowledging that there was a mistake made or that it could have possibly been different. I think that is what humility is. But ensuring that you respect each individual, not being, for lack of a better word, you don't have to be pompous as a judge, right? I think humility is important in our judicial system. And I think it brings public trust, right? There are a lot of people who are intimidated by our court system. There are a lot of people who just don't know their way through. And humility can help people understand that process and feel comfortable coming and feel like they're actually being heard in the courts.
Judge Davis?
Well, humility is absolutely essential. And especially when you're serving the public. And I don't like when people call me Your Honor. I don't mind when people call me Judge. But it is my honor to represent the people here as a public servant in the city of Mount Vernon. It's always been my honor as a defense attorney, and it became my honor to be on the bench because I get it. Public service is a calling, and I've had that calling for 3 decades. I've been in positions such as an assistant DA at a young age, and there was empathy that I used in discretion and a deep understanding of and community ties and understanding where people are coming from, because I came from some of the same streets. I grew up in part in the Bronx when I first came to this country. So I believe that humility as it relates to public servants is essential. We serve the public, not the other way around. And wearing the robe is a huge responsibility. And I understand that, and I'm gracious in accepting it. One final thing in terms of that, when it came to ascending to the bench, I wanted to do this because of the things that I've always done in Mount Vernon and I intend to do. Mental health court has been one of the things that I wanted to reinvigorate and start, which I have done again. But I took from last year to this year almost a $90,000 pay cut to be a full-time judge. Why I bring that to the table, and I say this is a calling. It's not about the finances. It's not about the power. It's about being dedicated to the community that you love. And this is the community I started my defense practice in. And this is the community that I still represent and love as a judge.
Time's up. Sorry.
He was on point.
Yes.
All right. Next question is, what is your approach to legal precedent, and when, if ever, should a judge consider departing from it? Let me rephrase this. This way it could be a little easier. Because I don't know. I didn't make these questions up. I'm following orders from these two guys. That's why I'm throwing both of y'all under the bus. Based on your approach with history, your experience, right, in dealing with whatever situations or how you have dealt with your particular jobs per se, should you ever considering departing from what you believed in and going in another direction to get a case resolved or dealt with?
Interesting.
Danielle, you want to answer that first?
So
let's say
the first question is a bit more clearer for me.
All right, go ahead. You answer it then.
All right. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, my approach to legal precedent is rooted in the principle of stare decisis. And that's the idea that courts should generally follow prior decisions to maintain predictability and fairness in the law. Precedent is essential to building public trust because people deserve to know that similar cases will be treated similarly and that the law isn't changing based on who was sitting on the bench that day. I think as a judge, I take that responsibility seriously. Following precedent isn't about simply repeating what's been done. It's about ensuring that the law is applied thoughtfully and consistently and with a full understanding of how previous rulings shape present day outcomes. That said, there are limited circumstances where departing from precedent may be appropriate, particularly when a decision is clearly in conflict with a higher court's ruling, statutory authority has changed, or even if the precedent is outdated and results in injustice under the current legal and social landscape. But that kind of departure must be done cautiously and with great care. It's not about personal opinion. It's about legal analysis, right? Judges must remain impartial and disciplined, applying the law as it stands and only deviating when it's, there's a clear and lawful basis to do so. I was always guided by the Constitution. They actually joke and say I'm a constitutionalist. I was guided by statutory law and by binding precedent. And where there's ambiguity or a gray area, I will rely on thorough research, reasoned analysis, and a commitment to fairness. Because my job is not to legislate from the bench, but it's to interpret the law faithfully and ensure that justice is administered with clarity and integrity. Did I get your question?
Yeah, you hit that. Yeah, you
Okay.
did. Judge Davis, you being a sitting judge already, have you ever came into that
time? Oh, did anybody answer?
No. we beyond you, Al. AJ, we got you.
Yeah.
AJ, we got you. Judge
That's
Davis, since you're already a sitting judge, have you ever had to depart from those kind of situations?
There are situations that you may have to depart from a legal precedent. And as a sitting judge and having been the associate judge and now the full-time judge, one of the requirements that you're to do in every single decision that you make in court is to see that substantial justice is done. And if there's a precedent that results in an injustice, you have an obligation as a judge to perhaps go against that precedent, because the goal in any given case is to do substantial justice. And not every person that comes before you is the same. So you have to look at the circumstances, you have to look at the individual, and there are things such as you may look at a motion to dismiss in the interest of justice, which is a motion and based upon factors that is filed by defense attorneys, and go through those given factors in terms of an analysis in making a decision on a given case, and do the right thing by way of substantial justice. So every decision that you make is not merely following precedent, but it's to see that substantial justice is done in any given case. And you have to weigh that in as a factor in your decision making always.
All right, thank you. Next question is, how do you reconcile the original intent of the law and the current realities and consequences it produced in people's lives? Judge, since you were just speaking, let's go back to you first.
Well, there have been plenty of laws that have affected individuals and communities disparately. And, Rockefeller laws, there are many laws that have sent people away to state prison and federal prison for many, many years during the crack cocaine epidemic. And they've revisited many of these laws because it disproportionately affected especially minority communities in a fashion that was draconian. And they've revisited much of that. I know people personally, individuals that I have grown up with who have been affected by these laws. And I've seen the consequences of individuals serving over a dozen years, 15 years for possession, things of that nature. Being in Washington, D.C., which is a federal jurisdiction, then you have to serve 85% of your time. So it's not every law that exists necessarily is a just law. Yes, we do have to follow the laws, and it is not our job to rescind laws, but it is also a recognition that humans, even the ones who pass the laws, are imperfect. And yeah.
All right, thank you. Danielle?
Yeah, I think, laws don't operate in a vacuum. They operate in real life with real people who bring complex circumstances into the courtroom. And I think that's why a good judge doesn't just read the law narrowly or robotically. A good judge considers the purpose of the law, the facts of the case, and the broader context in which it's being applied, right? And where there's tension between the law's intent and its real life effect, my job is to hold both truths carefully. I respect precedent. I apply the statute, but I also ask, is this an outcome aligned with justice? Is there discretion under the law to create a fairer result? Are there unintended consequences that the court should at least acknowledge? I've seen firsthand, both as an attorney and as a policymaker, how even well-meaning laws can have harmful impacts if applied without compassion or context. And that's why I bring not only legal skill, but emotional intelligence, cultural awareness, and lived experience to the bench. In every case, I'll interpret the law faithfully, but I will never forget the human being behind the paperwork, behind the file, because the law is meant to serve people, and a judge must always keep sight of that truth, I think.
No, thank you. Also, let me apologize for not calling you by your title, Council Member Brown, right?
Danielle is fine. We talked about humility. I'm okay.
All right, I got you. All right, next question is how do you stay informed about changes in the law, legal scholarships, social conditions that may impact your ruling? Councilwoman, Councilmember Brown.
So, as an attorney, you're required to do continue legal education courses to keep up with your license. So it would be attending conferences. It would be taking CLEs in areas that, in new emerging areas. It will be, following other cases, right? I think to be informed and to be a good steward of your job, you have to look at what's happening in the atmosphere. You have to make sure that you're staying on top of any newly passed laws, that you are consulting with judicial courts and those things. Just making sure you're staying schooled, well learned, and paying attention to the atmosphere is really how you keep up with the changing things in law.
All right, thank you. Judge Davis.
Yeah, I would say to that, every good attorney and every judge knows that in order to follow the given laws, and one of the best ways to do that is to actually read the New York Law Journal, and to do that fairly often. And I try to do that and stay informed with the Law Journal, because the Law Journal publishes decisions that are critical decisions as it relates to all areas of the law. And following the Law Journal, there's also the continuing legal education. For judges, I've also attended judges school on numerous occasions, and have had the benefit of being in judges school over the last number of years and going through an intense curriculum for the judges to continue to advance their knowledge in given areas of the law, and to share opinions with other judges as to how to best proceed. So it's actual experience combined with the Law Journal, continuing legal education, much of it online that we do. Also, it's keeping abreast of your community, is hitting the street. Not only reading the local paper, but I hit the street here in Mount Vernon on the South Side. I live on the South Side, but I also am deeply connected with what's going on within this community. I've had occasions where individuals have come to me about areas in Mount Vernon that I should at least come out and inspect in terms of the bridges and the parking. I've done that in terms of going to individuals' houses, in terms of landlord tenant. I've done that. I've been in the community and I've been out there.
Thank you. Next question is dealing with some public confidence and transparency. It's what specific steps would you take to make your courtroom more open, transparent, and accessible to the public? Judge Davis?
Well, we do have the ability, especially since COVID has been virtual. We've had, and we still do have occasions, and I always accommodate individuals on Zoom, or Microsoft Teams is what we use. And people can check in and see online and appear online, and they're on the record. And we have a record that's taken by a steno, or we have an audio record that's taken by a recording device. And I always make sure I don't dismiss, let's say if I'm dismissing tickets, I don't dismiss tickets outside the purview of court. Everyone comes into court before me on tickets. That's transparency. I don't want anyone thinking that there's anything under the table. And on top of that, let me tell you, I tell people to respect accountability, and I lead with accountability. When I get tickets, I go to the window and pay my tickets in full. And I don't go around the window to where the court staff is. I go to the window and wait online with everyone else. And I tell them that this is what I do because it's about taking accountability. That's the kind of transparency, and that's the kind of ethics that we need as leaders. We can't ask people to take accountability unless we do so as our leaders.
Charles, can you repeat that question for me, please?
That question is, what specific steps would you take to make your courtroom more open, transparent, and accessible to the public?
Awesome. So I think there are several things, right? I think first and foremost, Judge Davis touched on it a little bit, but we have a true issue in our Mount Vernon court. One of the biggest complaints that we hear is that it's not efficient, that folks have to take a whole day off of work to fight a ticket. So offering folks a virtual option to actually come in and to be able to step away from work for a little bit of time, as opposed to losing a day's worth of pay, will give more access. I think we also need more access to bilingual services. Mount Vernon is one of the most diverse cities north of the Mason-Dixon line, and having bilingual services would be helpful. I think another thing is one of the ways to ensure better access to the courtroom is to be respectful of everyone's time. That means starting on time, being well prepared, managing the docket in a way that doesn't leave people waiting for hours without clarity. When the court is organized, people get their day in court and not just time in a waiting room, right? I spoke a little bit earlier about having plain English documents available for folks who don't have representation but can understand the process. Also from the bench, using plain language, right? Because legal terms can be intimidating and people often walk away confused or overwhelmed. I want to make sure that litigants understand what's happening in their case, not just legally, but practically. I think that transparency is essential in building trust. Another thing is, I think, right now the Mount Vernon courts has arbitration. So arbitration in other courts, for example, in Yonkers courts, they have mediation, which gives litigants an opportunity to negotiate. And if they can't come to terms, they can quit mediation and go back to the case. I think that presents fairness. I think that is, giving people other opportunities to explore access to justice.
Okay.
All right.
All right for you, AJ.
Huh?
Right. I was ready for you.
All right.
Wait, I just want to ask a question. So, real quick. So, I need a yes or no from both candidates. You were not emailed or given the questions ahead of time. Yes or no?
No, absolutely not.
No.
Go ahead.
All
I
right.
just needed that to be said to the audience. That's all. That's what. Okay, go ahead.
Unless you leaked it out.
Hey, not me, bro. I just got home a couple hours ago.
All right. Well, all right. The next question is, Councilmember Brown, is what role does the public perception play in your conduct as a judge? And also, how would you handle the public criticism or scrutiny if it happens?
Yeah. So public perception, doesn't have, in my opinion, doesn't have a part in the courts, right? My job is to interpret the law, to apply it fairly, to make sure that I'm impartial, and not to worry about the noise that is happening outside of the court. If I'm doing my job and I'm, keeping up with my ethical standards and applying the law, then that doesn't matter. I mean, my experience as a counsel person, not everyone agrees, right? I mean, just today there was something released about me, and you have to have tough skin, right? So people saying things that you don't believe in or that aren't true, right? My job is to go to work every day, show up, do the job that I'm supposed to do, and not worry about outside factors, because that has nothing to do with the case before me. So public perception wouldn't sway how I'm going to decide. It's going to be the facts of the case, the law, and how it's applied.
Judge Davis?
Well, public perception in part does play a factor. And here's what I mean by that. As a judge, the life that you lead is significantly curtailed by, in terms of your associations, in terms of the things that you say, in terms of the things that you post. You can't post certain things, social media platforms. You cannot look as though you're biased or be biased. You cannot suggest that you're biased in any way, shape, or form. And on top of that, you at all times are required to avoid any semblance of impropriety. And that may mean that there are associations that you may have and contacts that you may have in the political arena where you may have to, or personal arena where you may have to recuse yourself. And I'm not somebody who has ever been in political office. I'm not somebody who's ever been in City Hall. I'm not somebody who's ever had to recuse myself on any cases involving City Hall. And I don't believe that I ever would have, because my role is always to be fair and impartial. And I don't have, I'm not beholden to anyone, either friend, family, or politician.
Councilmember Brown. You got on. There you go. Go ahead.
Oh, I went first, but if you want me to add on, I can go ahead.
No. I'm going to throw another question at you.
All right.
If you had to clear up, if you had to clarify at least one item, if you are a sitting judge, and you had to clear up a misconception to the public about you being judge, what do you believe would be one of the items you would want to touch on first, Councilmember Brown?
If I want to clarify a misconception to the public about me being judge?
Yes. Like say, for instance, we talked earlier about the bail reform. You said you're going to follow the rules and the laws based on how it's set up, and you're going to use your discretion. The thing is now is that the public has a certain misconception depending on who you speak to first, whether it's the victim or the people who's out there saying the system is rigged and they want to put everybody in. What would be, how would you clarify and look at the misconception of maybe how people are looking at the system as a whole?
I'm not, Charles, I'm having a hard time. Having a hard time following that question.
All right. Somebody, you got people standing outside, and make believe you're a judge already.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting there, people outside protesting, saying this individual was wrongly arrested. Right? That's in that kind of way. But in the meantime, he was arrested. He was presented in front of you by cops. They went through the system and everything else. But now they are saying this person is being railroaded. How would you address that issue?
So I'm not sure that that's an issue for the judge to address, right? That would be their legal representation that would need to step in and clarify that, right? But I do think that it's important for folks to view the system to be fair, and to believe it to be transparent, and to ensure that there's clarity and consistency in decision making, right? Those things are all important, right? I think, when people don't trust the system, or when they feel that the outcomes are biased, inconsistent, or unclear, they stop engaging with it. And that harms not just individual cases, but the credibility of the entire court. So in that sense, how the court functions in the process, we would make sure that it's following the law. But when it comes to clarifying whether someone was wrongfully arrested or such and such, that would be the attorney's responsibility.
Judge Davis, or you want me to add to that?
Well, that is not a consideration for really a judge. You can't be swayed by public perception, protest. The only thing that should sway you is doing the right thing. The only thing that should sway you is doing substantial justice. Cases are not tried in the court of public opinion. Cases are tried in court. And there's a constitution, and the U.S. Constitution is paramount. People are innocent until proven guilty, and those things are sacrosanct, right? So all of those principles are outliers for what you do always on the bench. And I lead with that, regardless of what the consequences will be for me down the road politically or otherwise. I will always continue to do the right thing from the standpoint of my experience as both an assistant DA in the past, a defense attorney, and now a judge. I think that I am right in the middle because I've done everything that I could possibly do. And this is the natural ascension, is to be a judge. So that's all that you can do.
So me ask both of y'all then in that sense, does it matter the conception of what the people in the community are going to say about you versus what law enforcement is going to say? Because as a sitting judge, regardless of what court you are in, you're going to have to deal with law enforcement some way, some form, or some kind of fashion, and they're going to be holding to you in a certain way as the community would. So how would you deal with that, Judge Davis?
Well, here's the thing. I've been law enforcement. I've been an assistant DA. I've been in Westchester County District Attorney's Office as a prosecutor. And I've been auxiliary police officer. And I'm deeply supportive of law enforcement. And I've been a defense attorney even longer. And I'm deeply supportive of the defense bar. And I've done trials on both sides. I am utterly devoid of any emotion as it relates to how defense feels about me or law enforcement feels about me. Again, it's substantial justice in doing the right thing always. And I lead with emotional integrity. I lead with compassion. I lead with love. But at the same time, I still have to do what's in the best interest of the city of Mount Vernon, the people of the city of Mount Vernon, the defendants, the victims, the DAs, the defense attorneys. All of those things come into play, but I cannot allow their feelings to impact my decisions.
Councilmember Brown?
Yeah, so as a judge, my job wouldn't be there to be popular. I'm going to be there to be fair, to follow the law, and to uphold the Constitution. My decisions will be based on facts, evidence, and legal standards, and not on who approves of me in a particular moment, right? I think judicial independence is that, and it's absolutely essential. That said, how law enforcement and community perceive the court and the judge does matter. Why? Because trust in the justice system, as I said, is critical to its function. If law enforcement believes the court is fair and impartial, they're more likely to bring solid cases and follow proper procedures. If the community believes that the court is transparent and even-handed, they're more likely to participate, to comply, and seek justice through the system instead of outside of it. I want both law enforcement and the community to know that I will be fair, not one-sided, not biased, not driven by pressure from any direction. If I do my job right, some people will disagree with my rulings from time to time, and that's okay. My goal is for everyone to walk away knowing that they were respected, that the process was fair, and that the judge listened with integrity. So yes, how people feel about me on the bench matters only to the extent that it reflects the court being trusted, professional, and accessible. But at the end of the day, my duty is to apply the law, not to play favorites and not to follow feelings. I think that's what justice demands, and that's the standard I'll uphold.
All right, and Councilmember Brown, since you spoke last just now, I'm going to read another question. It says here, what do you believe is the most pressing issue facing local justice system, and how would you address it as a judge?
Yeah, I think access to justice. So as we talked about earlier, the inefficiency of the courts and people spending whole days in courts and losing time from, jobs. Another thing that I think is how we are handling mental health issues in our courts, right? I think that we need diversionary programs. I think that we need to get to the root causes of, mental health issues, make sure that we're providing the services and getting folks the help that they need as opposed to incarcerating folks. I think that as I said, I think justice should restore and not just punish. And not having access to the right resources in the court system is detrimental to many folks. So those are the things that I think are most pressing. And, expanding access, like I said, to bilingual resources, to mediation, just allowing people to understand that even if you come in without representation, that you won't be disregarded, that you'll be respected, that you'll be treated fairly and impartially. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Judge Davis?
Well, I believe number one, I believe in individuals getting chances. And as indicated, in my opinion, jail is the nuclear option. There was a point in time in this particular country that when drug users were arrested, that the first thing during a crack epidemic, they wanted to jail people. And when the opioid crisis arrived, they wanted treatment. I believe that treatment should always be the option for individuals who are utilizing drugs, as indicated, or individuals who are engaging in alcohol abuse. Given, sometimes they need a push, they need a nudge, they need a helpful hand from the court. And I've been that helpful hand on many occasions. I've pushed people towards getting treatment. And I always, whether it's anger management, I assign people to task for anger management. When it's drug use, I assign task for drug use. I monitor, I check the reports every time they come back to court. If there's somebody who needs more intense treatment, I recommend, or I try to push them towards inpatient treatment. Things of that nature are essential. As far as mental health court was started in White Plains. And when we asked for it as the judges in Mount Vernon, we were told no. I reinvigorated that conversation. I'm not taking full credit for the stance that Mount Vernon now has for mental health court, but I did contact the administrative judge. I'm tenacious in that way. I have tenacity. I pushed. I asked her to come down, the administrative judge. I asked for the supervising judge to come down. They came down. They met with us, and we restarted the conversation to get a mental health court, and we're in the process of doing that.
All right. Since both of y'all touched on alternative of issues or alternative measures, the next question is, what's your experience with alternative to incarceration? And do you believe in expanding their use? Judge Davis?
I have a great deal of experience with alternatives to incarceration. Judicial diversion was started back in my tenure as a criminal defense attorney, and allowing people in terms of the drug courts that were established to go through, instead of going to state prison for drug possession. And even cases with individuals that were selling drugs for their own personal drug habit, judicial diversion became available. And I've pushed clients to get them judicial diversion as an attorney. And as a judge, I'm a great believer, as I've just stated, in many of the diversionary programs. This criminal justice system is ill-equipped to deal with individuals with severe mental problems. We need a triage of services to both deal with the problem of homelessness as well as the mental health disabilities. I'm uniquely qualified to know a lot about the mental health situations, because many of my clients on homicides have been schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenic, manic depressive, bipolar. I've seen every malady. I've been to Bellevue on behalf of clients to meet with them for arraignments. I've walked them through the process. I've pushed these individuals, both in drug cases, alcohol cases, and mental health cases, and I have 31 years of experience in doing so.
Councilmember Brown?
Thank you, Charles. So I think My experience has shown me that punishment alone doesn't always lead to justice. Sometimes real accountability and transformation happens outside of a jail cell. And throughout my legal and legislative career, I've worked with individuals facing serious challenges. And it typically was a lack of access to support, resources, and opportunity. So that's why I strongly believe in using alternatives to incarceration when the law allows and when public safety is not at risk. I think diversion programs, community service, mental health treatment, and supervised release options can provide structure, accountability, and even the opportunity for someone to turn their life around without the lifelong consequences of incarceration. I've supported initiatives that focus on public health as a council member, and I've seen firsthand the power of investing in people instead of just punishing them. And as an attorney, I've advocated for solutions that go beyond the courtroom, because I know that the law isn't just about enforcing rules; it's about creating pathways to stability and fairness. As a judge, I'll evaluate each case, as I said, individually and apply the law as written. But where I have discretion, I'll always look at the full picture, including someone's willingness to participate in a program, their ties to the community, and their potential for growth. I don't think incarceration has a role in our system, but it should never be the automatic answer when other options can promote real change. To me, that's what justice means. Not just punishment, but opportunity, fairness, and restoration.
All right, thank you. And since you spoke last, council member, next question is, can you speak to your direct experience with courtroom trials or that kind of experience, whether civil, criminal, or family, and how that background has prepared you for the bench?
Yeah. So I've had numerous consumer debt and landlord-tenant matters, enough to know how the court works, but more importantly, to understand how real people experience the legal system. And it confirmed for me how intimidating the legal system can be when you don't speak the language of law, as I mentioned. My strength as a candidate isn't just about the number of appearances I've had in court. It's about my ability to be fair, prepared, and emotionally intelligent, and responsive to the needs of our community. But courtroom experience alone doesn't make someone ready to serve as a judge, right? What truly matters is how you carry yourself on the bench. And that comes down to emotional intelligence, judicial temperament, and the ability to lead with fairness and clarity. I think I bring compassion, I bring patience and professionalism to every interaction. I listen before I speak. I treat everyone, whether they're a lawyer, a potential litigant, or someone representing themselves, with dignity and respect. I've built a career and a public service record based on trust, responsiveness, and high standards. And I know how to stay grounded and calm in high pressure situations. Those are qualities that are essential in a courtroom. So yes, I've been in court, but more importantly, I'm ready to run a courtroom. One that is efficient, one that is respectful, and rooted in the values of this community. That's what judicial readiness looks like. And that's what I bring to the bench, right? And also, I want folks to keep in mind that longevity doesn't always mean progress.
Judge Davis?
All right. So my direct answer to that is quality and qualifications go hand in hand. And you can never minimize experience. If someone told you that they had 31 years as an airline pilot and you wanted to hire that individual versus somebody with no real court or no real pilot experience, who would you trust to hire to get you from destination A to destination B? You can never minimize experience. And that experience is not only founded in the hundreds of cases that I have done in terms of jury trials, bench trials, in terms of family court trials, in terms of trials in landlord-tenant, in terms of trials in criminal court, in terms of trials throughout New York City, in terms of trials in Rockland, Westchester County, and specifically since 1999 in Mount Vernon City Court. For one individual, and I'll mention his name because he posted it, and Rodney Crenshaw, I had 4 jury trials that I won for him back to back to back to back, and he posted the dismissals on social media, and he chose to do that. And that's something that when I said I represented individuals like family, I have a deep love for him and many individuals in this community because of the relationships that were developed over that course. So I'm deeply committed, and part of that experience is my emotional intelligence.
All right. I just want to add another question. I want to go back because we mentioned earlier about the criminal justice reform. Based on experience and what is being said now, a lot of the county DAs been complaining about the lack of timing in dealing with 30/30 ruling or sharing of information, saying that they can't get proper timing on certain information that's to be shared between the public defenders and the DA's office. And based on that ruling, a lot of times the person who's being accused of the crime is let go somehow, whether he's released on his own recognizance or just the case is just dismissed or called a mistrial. Based on that information, Judge Davis, how would you make sure those decisions or rulings are stuck with?
Well, first and foremost, I know some of the individuals that were integral in the passing of the bail reform. Some of these individuals were with the New York Legal Aid Society. John Schoeffel was one of them, a brilliant individual. But in addition to him being on board, the DA's offices were brought in for the considerations for not only the bail reform, but also the discovery reform, which is linked to the 30/30. And for years here in the state of New York, I had to try cases as a defense attorney where I received on murder trials the entire 6 to 8 boxes days in advance of homicide trials and jury selection. And I can't begin to tell you what an impediment it was for individuals to get fair trials. Discovery reform was long overdue. The legislature realized that, and we were actually antiquated here in New York State as far as discovery reform. Now that it's gotten to the point of having that discovery reform, it is incumbent upon the DAs as well as the defense attorneys and organizations to see if it's leading to just results. As judges, we cannot get involved in that process. That is a process by which you petition your legislature for any amendments and changes. And in fact, since the discovery reform went into effect in 2020 and the bail reform, there have been amendments and changes to both.
Councilmember Brown?
Thank you, Charles. So I think, with bail reform, first, let me step back. I think as a judge, my responsibility, as I said earlier, is always going to be apply the law fairly, consistently, and without bias, right? With bail reform, I understand that the law is significantly limited when cash bail can be set, especially for nonviolent offenses. And while some district attorneys have expressed concerns, it's not a judge's role to rewrite the law, it's to follow it. Where the law gives me discretion, like in certain qualifying offenses, I'll carefully consider the facts of the case, the person's history, any risk to public safety, and make the decisions that are well-reasoned and supported. I think discovery reform is also a critical issue. It was enacted to create a fairer playing field by ensuring that defendants, particularly those who can't afford private counsel, have timely access to the evidence against them. And as a judge, I will enforce those timelines and hold all parties accountable to their responsibilities. Justice cannot be rushed. But it can also, it cannot be delayed, right? Due to avoidable procedural breakdowns. I think the key is balance. I'll ensure that the prosecution has fair opportunity to comply with the law while also protecting defendants' rights to timely and complete defense. That means active case management, clear expectations, strong communication in the courtroom. Delays, confusion, or last-minute disclosures undermine trust in the process. And we were talking earlier about how important it is for people to have public trust in the court system. And, that's something I'll work to prevent. At the end of the day, bail and discovery reforms were designed to promote fairness, reduce unnecessary incarceration, and improve transparency. And my job is going to be to carry out those reforms with integrity, making sure justice is served for the accused, for victims, and for the community.
So Councilmember Brown, since you're saying these things, and I'm going on the assumption you're saying you're going to be an effective trial judge. What else would you do to ensure fairness in that trial process for all parties involved?
To ensure is essentially reviewing the case impartially, right? I think that is how we ensure fairness. Reviewing each case impartially, making sure that everyone has equal access to the discovery, right? It is making sure every person is heard, is seen. Those are all a part of the things that we will do to make sure it's fair.
Judge Davis, I'm sorry.
Okay, there's an additional consideration. And having been somebody, again, who's done this for 31 years and have tried cases, and it's now a judge, it's Brady v. Maryland. And that's when you have Brady material. And Brady material is exculpatory evidence, which is a type that may show that a defendant did not commit a particular crime. And as a judge, and even as a defense attorney, you have to know what to do when there is a violation of Brady. That means that a prosecutor's office failed to disclose evidence that would tend to exonerate or show the innocence of a particular defendant. You have to know what to do and the only way that you would naturally know is if you have done trials and have made applications during the course of those trials. I have. So there are various sanctions that can occur. Dismissal is the highest sanction. And that's usually not unless there's such an egregious violation of Brady v. Maryland, which is a U.S. constitutional case, the leading and seminal case as to exculpatory material, but also whether there's been a Brady disclosure and you can do something like an adverse inference, where you give an inference in terms of a jury instruction to a jury about the particular Brady evidence that was not revealed to the defense. So there are a variety of different options to deal with it. And as a judge, I know what those options are.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. No, we got through the questions. I want to thank both of y'all for being open and very alert to everything that goes on. AJ, anything you want to add in there?
Yeah. I want to thank both of y'all. I want to thank both of y'all for respecting the time and most of the time finishing before I tell you it was time. So that was able to get more questions in. I want to thank everybody who's watching and for your patience. I know this didn't go as smoothly as it was supposed to go from beginning to end, but Judge Peter had to get his thing and Danielle rocked with me and we made it happen. So, thank you. I try to be as fair and impartial as possible with the whole process.
Let's give them a minute or two to close.
Yeah. They each get 2 minutes to close. Yeah, they each get a 2-minute closing statement. So, who wants to start first? I really don't.
Well, let's go with Judge Davis since
there you go.
Last.
All right.
Hey,
okay.
Judge.
Thank you. Again, thank you for this opportunity to the city of Mount Vernon. Thank you to Danielle Brown. Thank you to Black Westchester for having this opportunity to present my case for city court. I am the full-time judge now, and I got to be the full-time judge because I was assessed by a committee who voted for me to become the part-time judge. And I've always said that the route to become full-time judge, such as Judge Sam Walker, he was the part-time judge before he ascended to be the full-time judge here in the city of Mount Vernon. I followed the same track to do so. And that track was available to everybody when Judge Seiden retired. Anybody could have applied, and people did apply to be part-time judge. And I wanted to be day one ready for my role as the full-time judge. And I have been day one ready, and I have been doing the job as a judge in Mount Vernon City Court. And I've been doing it ethically. I've been doing it passionately. I've been doing it with love for the city of Mount Vernon. And I believe that not only my experience on the bench as an assistant DA, as a former defense attorney, but more importantly, as somebody who's been in that court since 1999, I'm deeply aware of the problems in Mount Vernon City Court because I've been there for decades practicing in that court. And the people there are like family to me, the people who work there, the people that come through there. And at the same time, I still measure up to doing substantial justice on a daily basis, whether it's a ticket, landlord, tenant, VCOs, criminal. I do it all. I've been doing it well. I intend to keep doing it well. I would just ask for the people's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
All right. So I want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to thank Black Westchester. I want to thank Charles, the moderator. Thank you, everyone who's listening, who stayed up. I hope what you've heard is that I'm not just running to be a judge. I'm running to be your judge here in Mount Vernon. One who brings fairness, one who brings compassion and professionalism to the courtroom, and one who understands this community because I've lived it, I've served it, and I've fought for it. I bring legal experience, I bring legislative experience, and a deep commitment to justice that is rooted in real life. I've handled cases, I've written laws, I've helped people navigate systems that weren't built with them in mind, and I'm ready to bring that experience and that temperament and that leadership to the bench. Mount Vernon deserves a judge who will treat every person with dignity, ensure that the courtroom runs efficiently and fairly, and never forget that behind every case is a human being with a story. I have the emotional intelligence, I have the work ethic, and the deep community connection to do this job the right way from day one. I'm honored to be the Democratic Party's endorsed candidate, and I'm asking for your support to bring a new chapter of justice to Mount Vernon. So please remember that I'm Danielle Brown, and I'm running for City Court in ballot position 10A. The primary is Tuesday, June 24th, and early voting runs from June 14th through June 22nd. Your vote will help shape the future of our court and our community. Thank you for your time again, your trust, and your belief in a better path forward. I'm ready to serve, and I hope I earned your vote tonight.
Thank you, both candidates. And I want to thank Charles Billups. And I want to speak to the audience real quick, especially for all of y'all that talk about the justice system and how unfair the justice system. One of the most powerful tools you have in reforming the justice system is paying attention to these judge races. Just like I told y'all to pay attention to the DA races. This race is going to dictate how criminal justice is going to be handled for the next 10 years by one of you. So we have to get involved and we have to be educated. It's not about personality. For me, it's not even a ticket. It's who, I feel will do the best job. And I hope everybody goes to the ballot box a little more informed after watching this. This video will be posted on blackwestchester.com, and you can see it. You can watch it there. And also on YouTube, if you missed it, you can watch the replay of this on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you, Charles. Any last words?
No, I wish both of y'all good luck.
Thank you so much.
Damon, do you want to come in and do one of those Russell Simmons, good night and God bless? Do you want to come on screen? Your mic's muted.
You muted.
Wow, can you?
Still muted.
Yeah, that was a great debate. That was a great debate, and as my brother AJ said, it's going to be on Black Westchester. You can rewatch it on YouTube. All of your YouTube. I want to thank all the people from the different platforms, especially YouTube. Please like and share and check out our t-shirts and check out our hats and check out our mugs. And if y'all sitting here watching and you ain't on YouTube and you're saying, what is he talking about? Yes, we have Black
Merch.
Westchester merchandise and
Including books.
and books.
And yeah, we both got a handful of books.
About how to eat right.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and to
Absolutely.
be blacktastic.
Exactly. That's what that's what it's all about. But I want to thank everybody for supporting Black Westchester. Next week is the Comptroller debate. We're gonna move it up about 6:30 because I don't know what's going on. Everybody had hard time. Some people had a hard time getting in, so we gotta figure that out.
Next Sunday?
Yep, next Sunday.
Yeah, next Sunday is Controller.
And that's the second game of the NBA too.
Oh, and I won't be watching that. And the Knicks ain't playing. I won't be watching. So and then the Sunday following.
Listen, I'm trying to get clicks. I ain't worried about the NBA. They already paid.
The Sunday after, which will be the city council candidates.
Yeah, I mean that's on. Like we'll know, and people. I mean, because I just realized it's Father's Day, June 15th. So we might have to change that up. I'll figure it out because that's Father's Day, man. And who wants to be in the house watching this on Father's Day, or even even dealing with it, you know? But thanks everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. And we're gonna hit y'all with some ads, and then we're out of here, man. Peace and blessings.
Thank you, everybody. Once again, this is Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. We're on 6 to 8 every Sunday, simulcasted live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X, and sometimes on Instagram. Until next week, peace. David,
thank you to everyone who supported us through Super Chat. Your contributions keep independent media alive and thriving. We couldn't do it without you. Stand up, speak out, rock the message that matters. Community before party. Get your shirt today and let your vote wear your interest and values over party loyalty. Stand strong, speak loud, wear the truth. The Black Mental Health Matters team. Support health, wellness, mental clarity, and independent media. Get yours now.
All right, that's what's up.
This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics show, the news with the Black point of view.